Chapter 26. It was the two big light bulbs, Satsuki and Tomioka Jiuo, who seemed particularly bright. Jiuo was even in the light without knowing it, and kept leaning towards Kiritani Sento. With the dawn of the 8th day piercing the night sky, the final selection was over. Looking at the swordsman walking out of the Torii gate, Hinamai and Heika's eyes widened. The two were responsible for counting the swordsmen who survived the final selection. As Tomioka Jiuo walked out of the Torii gate, the two quiet girls shouted, 19. They remembered that there were a total of 20 people participating in the selection this time, and the result showed that almost 100% of them passed this time. This situation has not happened many times in the history of the Demon Slayer Corps. Just as the two girls were recording, our Azu Murata-san limped out. He had the most exciting time among the 20 people. Hina looked at Murata with a confused face, and her helpless little hand pulled her sister next to her. Also, all right, there's another one. Heika's brilliant smile amazed Murata, just like the wisteria flowers blooming next to her. Welcome back. Murata was stunned at first, then smiled and responded, thank you, thank you. Murata stood in the middle of everyone, and Hina and Heika's sisters bowed solemnly to thank everyone for their efforts to survive. Everyone, the survival rate this time is 100%, you have created the history of the Demon Slayer Corps. The swordsmen below all consciously looked at Kiritani Sento and his group. Most of them had seen one of the two rabbits, and they were all grateful. Hina and Heika first opened the 5 large cages around them, and 20 crows flew out in unison. As a small messenger and mobile eyes, crows are an indispensable partner for every swordsman. The already smart crows have undergone special training by the Demon Slayer Corps, and swallowing human words is just a basic operation. Each time, the number of crows just corresponds to the swordsman participating in the selection, but not all crows can find their masters, but this time it is just right. Kiritani Sento carefully observed the little guy on his arm, his smart eyes blinking, and there happened to be a tuft of white feathers on his head, which was incompatible with the main color black. Kiritani Sento gently stroked the feathers of the crow and said with a smile, I'll call you Taromaru. The little guy seemed to understand and actually spoke human words. Taromaru applies to fight. Ga ga ga. After distributing the crows, it's time for the most important step, choosing the raw materials of your own sun blade, Gorilla Scarlet Iron Sand and Gorilla Scarlet Ore. Gorilla Scarlet Iron Sand and Gorilla Scarlet Ore are the raw materials for the sun blade. They are collected from the mountain closest to the sun and fully absorb the sunlight. The two complement each other, and the sword cannot be forged without either one. Hinamai and Hikaru lifted the black curtain, and 20 groups of iron ores were neatly placed on the long stone platform. Like the crows, they can find their own owners. Then, please choose your own ore, and the team uniforms and sun blades will be delivered to everyone in 15 days. As soon as the two finished speaking, Kiritani Sento opened his crescent pupil. In his eyes, all 20 groups of ores exuded golden light. Although the intensity was similar, he still chose the best and found the brightest 4 groups. For the ore selected by Rabbit, Koko Shinobu and the other two gladly accepted it. While everyone was choosing the ore, Hinamai and Hikaru released the crows in their hands. After choosing the ore, Fujishiyama's trip came to a perfect end. Hina and Heika watched everyone leave, and their ethereal and joyful voices lingered in the ears of every swordsman. I wish you all good luck in martial arts. After saying goodbye to the Mizuho duo, Kiritani Sento and Koko Shinobu rushed back to the headquarters without stopping. They will each face their first mission in 15 days. The warm sunshine shone on the handsome face of the boy. Although he was young, there was no trace of immaturity on his face. He silently looked at the letter in his hand, and his joy was beyond words. This person was the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps, Yubayashiki Yoya. He is still a handsome boy now, and he is not affected by the curse. Makijiro asked in confusion, My lord, what makes you so happy? That's right, I haven't seen my lord smile for a long time. Huali asked. Yubayashiki Yoya raised his head and spoke in a calm and gentle voice, Senior Makijiro, Tenjin, guess how many people survived the final selection this time? His voice and the rhythm of his movements can make others feel happy, which is the ability of people who can drive the masses. Maki Shulang answered without hesitation, 100%. He absolutely believed in his apprentice's strength, and it would not be a problem to cut down a lower string. Yubayashiki Yoya nodded, and Huali suddenly had a bad feeling. Another news is that the demons of Fujishizan were killed by Kiritani Sento, Koko Shinobu, and Mr. Urokodaka's 2 apprentices. Hearing the words of his lord, Uzui Tenjin almost died on the spot and exclaimed, "Nanny! How is this possible, damn it!" But he soon realized that he was rude and sat back quickly. "Sorry, Lord, I'm rude." Yubayashiki Yoya didn't care at all. He preferred to be friends with swordsmen rather than superiors and subordinates. Suddenly, Yubayashiki Yoya excitedly said, "Senior Makijiro, Tenjin, do you know? Today, I saw the dawn of hope. The Demon Slayer Corps, which has been in decline, is going to become stronger. I hope the Demon Slayer Corps of this era can surpass the Warring States period." Cough cough cough. The overly excited Yubayashiki Yoya seemed to have forgotten his body and started coughing violently. Makijiro and Uzui Tenjin were so scared that they hurried forward to support him. Yubayashiki Yoya hadn't been so happy for a long time. After reporting on their recent work, Makijiro and Uzui Tenjin left. Yubayashiki Yoya stood up and walked slowly into the courtyard. The sun was warm and caring. Yubayashiki Yoya stretched out his hand to the sun and held it tightly. At that moment, he seemed to have grasped the dawn of hope. This final selection was the best news for the Demon Slayer Corps, comparable to killing the lower string. Yubayashiki Yoya withdrew his hand, quietly feeling the remaining warmth of the sun, and the corners of his mouth could not help but rise. "Rabbit! I really want to see you." Over the past year or so, Yubayashiki Yoya has heard a lot about Kiritani Sento, and he has long wanted to meet him. Kiritani Sento, who was on his way, suddenly sneezed, which made him wonder, could it be that Kaoru was thinking about me? Chapter 27. As the name suggests, the mountain is surrounded by clouds and mist all year round, and the air is thin. For ordinary people, this place is not suitable for long-term survival, but it is just right for breathing swordsmen. A simple wooden house is located at the foot of Sajiri Mountain. This is the home of the water-breathing duo, and the water-breathing cultivator, Seikanji Urokadaki, lives here. The candle burns out and the tears dry. People who have fought for demons all their lives are still shining after retirement. Cultivators are such people. They are lucky because they survived. The responsibility of the trainer is to provide basic combat guidance for those who want to join the Demon Slayer Corps. The trainers used to be senior swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps. There are many of them, distributed in different places. The techniques of the rookies trained by the trainers are all decided by the trainers themselves, and there are no clear regulations. The trainers are also responsible for teaching the breathing method necessary for hunting demons. Urokadaka Seikanji leaned against the door of the wooden house without saying a word. He waited at the door for 10 consecutive days, and he waited for a whole day. He is a mysterious old man wearing a Tengu mask. He is also the former water pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps. He is older than Makijiro. He speaks gently but with dignity and a steady personality. Urokadaka Seikanji taught 12 children and none of them survived. This is like a curse that tortures him all the time. Every time he accepts a disciple, he will think twice. Every time he loses a disciple, it is like a knife in his heart. Suddenly a cute little girl jumped in front of Urokadaka Seikanji. The girl pulled the corner of his clothes and acted coquettishly. "Master, Master, my senior and junior brothers will definitely get home safely. You just go back to the house. Be careful not to catch a cold." The girl's name is Makomo. She has black medium-length hair and wears a short kimono with plum blossom patterns. She gives people a lively and cheerful feeling. She is also a cute girl. She is Jiyu's senior sister, but because she is a girl, the master kept her and asked her to train for another year before participating in the final selection. At this moment, the figures of 2 young men emerged from the fog. Seeing the master and Makomo, Seikanji and Jiyu could not help but speed up their pace. "Master, we are back." Urokotaka Seikanji immediately ran to the 2 apprentices and hugged them tightly in his arms. After 12 years, someone finally came back alive. Seikanji clearly felt that the master's body was trembling, so he hugged his master tightly. If it weren't for the rabbit, he might not have seen the master. Jiyu felt a drop of cool water sliding down his face, but he didn't care, because the narrow fog mountain was full of fog all year round, the air was very humid, and a drop of water was nothing. Because of the mask, the 2 could not see that the master Urokotaki under the mask had already burst into tears, but he was crying with a smile. Genkomo came to the master and his apprentices. She really couldn't bear to disturb their deep relationship, but there's still me. Okay. Genkomo pouted, stood there with her hands on her hips and said, "Master, do you have another apprentice?" Urokita Seikanji patted Genkomo's head with a smile, and then walked towards the wooden house. I'll make a big meal for you tonight. Genkomo muttered softly, oh. You touched my head again, what should I do if I don't grow taller? The next second, Genkomo jumped in front of Tomioka Jiyu and pinched his face without saying a word. It was obvious that she was a habitual offender. Ah! Is Jiyu's face soft again? Jiyu had no expression on his face and didn't resist. He was obviously used to it. Genkomo soon noticed that the two of them were carrying a bag, and the bag looked bulging. Could it be that they bought delicious food for me? Zhengu's eyes lit up instantly, and he said expectantly, did you buy me a gift? Xian Tu answered directly, no. Zhengu shook her head, seemingly unconvinced, and then she looked at Yi Yang, my good junior brother. No, there is no time to buy that thing. Zhengu was instantly disappointed. It seemed that she was being sentimental. 2 straight men, it was killing me. But her eyes still stayed on the bulging bundle, and asked, what are you carrying? Tomioka Yi Yang said without hesitation, the relics of my senior brothers and sisters. Zhengu's cherry mouth could swallow an egg instantly, and she covered her mouth in disbelief. Xian Tu handed the bundle to Zhengu and hurriedly ran into the wooden house. She was so excited just now that she forgot to tell her master. Zhengu opened the bundle, and there were indeed 6 disaster-eliminating fox masks inside. The two of them really found it. Urokadaka Seikanji dropped his work and rushed out. He picked up the mask and examined it carefully. After putting the mask away, the 4 masters and apprentices happily had a big meal. 10 days the wind and rain had already exhausted Satoshi and Tomioka Jiyu. They slept right after dinner, and Makomo continued training as usual. Urokadaka Seikanji locked himself in the room, staring blankly at the 12 disaster-eliminating fox masks. He hadn't slept all night, and the owner of each mask was still in his memory. The next morning, the 4 masters and apprentices came to Sajiri Mountain. Satoshi and Jiyu dug a pit, and Makomo gently placed each mask into the pit. The last disaster-eliminating fox mask was buried, and Urokadaka Seikanji took out a large Tengu mask from his arms and put it into the pit. Children, Master is with you. Rest in peace. With the last handful of soil filled, the thorn that had been in Seikanji's heart for more than 10 years was pulled out. The setting sun shone on the cabin through the layers of mist. Satoshi was telling his master about his experience, and Jiyu was practicing swordsmanship with his senior sister. The 4 masters and apprentices were enjoying their lives comfortably, while Urokadaka Seikanji was amazed at what his apprentice called Kiritani Sento. At such a young age, has he surpassed you, Sento? Then he probably has the strength of a pillar. Sento widened his eyes and exclaimed, is Naito that strong? Yeah, probably. I hope you can support the new generation of the Demon Slayer Corps, and the responsibility of the water pillar will be handed over to you. Rengoku family. Kiritani Sento was running around the yard with a terrified look on his face, and behind him was the cursing Huali Ji. You little brat, stop right there. Weren't you brave when you were killing demons? One-on-one, today I will teach you, teach you. Kiritani Sento yelled, Brother Huali, can we put down the dynamite before we talk? I'm scared. Kiritani Kaoru covered her mouth and chuckled, her eyebrows curved. Because of her brother, the house is always lively. It feels so good. Uzui Tenjin pretended to say, I put away the dynamite. And the kunao, the ninja set can't be used on me. Kiritani Sento complained. Uzui Tenjin was a little confused. Did that guy's eyes grow on the back of his head? Suddenly, Taromaru flew in, he landed on Kiritani Sento's shoulder, and said, The Lord wants to see you. The Lord wants to see you. Chapter 28. Kiritani Sento turned around and made a face at Uzui Tenjin, bye. Uzui Tenjin was so angry that he jumped up, you kid, you are waiting for me, you are going too far. It's not gorgeous at all. After a simple chase game, Kiritani Sento walked towards Yubayashiki Yoya's house under the leadership of Taro Marushi. Although he has lived in the headquarters for more than a year, he has never been to Yubayashiki Yoya's house. The road is not as complicated as imagined. A high wooden wall separated the courtyard from the outside world. Kiritani asked softly, is anyone there? As soon as Kiritani finished speaking, a gentle voice sounded, is it the rabbit? I should be able to call you that, right? Kiritani suddenly felt his head light, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. It seems that Yubayashiki Yoya can really make people relax. Kiritani was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly opened the door. Wisteria trees were planted on both sides of the courtyard, which is the standard of the Demon Slayer Corps. A boy who looked about the same age as him was looking at him with a smile. Seeing Kiritani coming in, Yubayashiki Yoya walked slowly towards him and finally saw the legendary rabbit, which looked younger than himself. "Boss, sit down quickly, your health is important," Kiritani shouted subconsciously. He didn't like to call him Lord all the time, which seemed distant. The boss was more intimate. Yubayashiki Yoya realized that the boy was different, even the name was different. "So I can call you Rabbit, right?" Kiritani Sento smiled and stretched out his hand. "Kiritani Sento, the A-class swordsman of the Demon Slayer Corps, nice to meet you. I don't like Lord very much. It's more intimate to call you boss." Yubayashiki Yoya nodded and responded, "Of course. But why are you looking for me, boss? I heard about what happened in Fujikiyama, and Senior Makijiro often mentioned you, so I really want to meet the legendary rabbit." "Ha ha ha, that's it." Kiritani Sento scratched his head embarrassedly. How did it become legendary? The two sat at the wooden table in the yard. Because they were of the same age and Kiritani Sento was very familiar with people, they started chatting after a while. Yubayashiki Yoya felt that Rabbit was a very easygoing person, always saying some words he couldn't understand. He still believed in his own judgment, but he just couldn't see through Kiritani Sento. "Rabbit, what do you think of the Demon Slayer Corps?" Kiritani Sento said without hesitation, "I don't know about the others, but this is a place called home for me." "Home. I like this term very much." Yubayashiki Yoya nodded with satisfaction. Kiritani Sento was also surprised. Yubayashiki Yoya had no airs at all, and his body movements and voice were very comfortable. No wonder he could lead a Demon Slayer Corps of hundreds of people. His leader skills were maxed out. Kiritani Sento promoted Tai Chi as usual. His goal was to take down as many as he could. The boss was a big customer. Just as Kiritani Sento was promoting Tai Chi, a white-haired woman with a lady-like temperament came out with tea. Yubayashiki Amini, who has the blood of the priest family, is 4 years older than her husband Yubayashiki Yoya. Yubayashiki Yoya can be said to have found a big gold brick. As the saying goes, young people don't know how good their elder sisters are, and they mistakenly treat Lolita as treasures. There is only one adjective for this woman for Kiritani Sento, that is fairy. She is so beautiful, worthy of being a clergyman. Yubayashiki Amina looked at Kiritani Sento with a smile. "Hello, Rabbit, I am your boss's wife, Yubayashiki Amini. Your name is cute." Kiritani Sento seemed to be prepared. He didn't hate rabbits but hated cuteness. It was uncomfortable for a grown man to be described as cute. Yubayashiki Amina listened to the conversation between the two while preparing tea. She hadn't seen her husband so happy for a long time. She always hoped that her husband could have a friend of the same age who could talk. Because the children of the Yubayashiki family all had short lives, and her husband took on the Demon Slayer Corps at the age of 10, who could the boy tell about his inner pain? After all, he is also a child, but a child without a childhood is also a pitiful person. Putting down the tea and snacks, Yubayashiki Tenon gently reminded, "By the way, Yoya, it's time to visit the graves today." "Yes." Yubayashiki Yoya had never forgotten to visit the graves, but he postponed it because of meeting Kiritani Battle Rabbit. "I'll go with you." The cemetery is only 50 meters away from Yubayashiki Yoya's residence and it was just behind his mansion. Kiritani Sento's admiration for Yubayashiki Yoya increased a little bit. He really respected his swordsman. Just ask, who would build a house next to a cemetery? It's exciting to think about it. After all, in the eyes of most people, cemeteries are fearful. Yubayashiki Yoya supported his tired body and gently swept the dust off the tombstones. Kiritani Sento roughly estimated that there were probably hundreds of tombstones. They all sacrificed themselves to kill evil spirits, and most of them didn't even have corpses, and all they had were cenotaphs. With a heavy heart, Kiritani Sento followed Yubayashiki Yoya's way of sweeping the tombs. Living next to a cemetery, won't you be scared at night? Yubayashiki Yoya stopped sweeping the broom in his hand, looked at the cemetery affectionately, and said with peace of mind, "Until I leave, I will accompany the swordsmen who sacrificed their lives." As he spoke, Yubayashiki Yoya pointed to the tombstone in front of Kiritani Sento. He not only accurately said the name of the tomb owner, but also told his life story. Yubayashiki Yoya's body was always in a state of recovery from a serious illness. When he first recovered, he was in a weak state, and he was always weak. Just sweeping the tomb made him sweat profusely, and he had to rest for a while. After sweeping the tomb, the two sat at the entrance of the cemetery, bathing in the warm sunshine, and Yabayashiki Yoya enjoyed it very much. I don't know how long the sun will shine. Yabayashiki Yoya murmured to himself. Kiritani suddenly said mysteriously, Boss, I have a promise with you. What is it? I will definitely help you solve the problem of sunbathing, the kind that can last a lifetime. Kiritani stretched out his fist and added, Trust me, just bump fists, this is a promise between men. Yabayashiki Yoya smiled and bumped fists with him. The sun shone through the gap between the two boys' fists, and the shadows on the ground looked like a bridge. But I don't want to sweep your grave. Of course, I'm very powerful, boss. Kiritani patted his chest confidently. Then he hugged Yabayashiki Yoya and said with a smirk, Boss, there is one more thing I admire very much. Sister-in-law Amini is pregnant, right? This point. Kiritani's old-fashioned look made Yabayashiki Yoya blush. After all, the two souls were in different times and their thoughts were not very different. Although people of this era got married early, their thoughts were very conservative. Chapter 29. You said it was an illness, but it wasn't. The moment the silver ball of light lit up, Kiritani felt like he had fallen into an endless abyss without sunlight and freezing cold. He now felt the pain of Yabayashiki Yoya firsthand, and it was amazing that he could endure it. Compared to a year ago, Kiritani's physical strength has improved a lot, but he almost fainted just by slightly suppressing the curse. Yabayashiki Yoya found something wrong and immediately pushed Kiritani's hand away. Okay, don't force yourself, I know my body. It's much better now, I feel like I can swing the knife a few more times. Because of his body, Yabayashiki Yoya even had problems swinging the knife, so he couldn't do all kinds of physical fitness exercises. However, as a warm current permeated his body, he felt much more comfortable, and the weakness he had felt since birth was also reduced. I will come to help you suppress the curse from time to time in the future. It will be absolutely no problem for you to live until Muzan dies. As a plot-oriented person, Kiritani Sento was not depressed. He knew that the boss would never die so soon, and he still had time. After saying goodbye to Yabayashiki Yoya, Kiritani Sento went home and fell asleep. Yabayashiki Yoya even asked his wife to tell the Rengoku family what happened, because he was afraid that they would worry. It had been 3 days since the tomb sweeping incident, and Kiritani Sento and Koko Shinobu's uniforms had been made long ago. In fact, every member of the Demon Slayer team has 3 treasures, namely the Sun Wheel Sword, the Crow, and the uniform. The uniforms of the Demon Slayer team are made of special fibers, which have excellent breathability, and are also highly moisture resistant and flame resistant. The claws and teeth of weak demons cannot even tear the uniforms. The uniforms can basically resist the cold and heat, as well as the sharp teeth and claws of the intermediate level demons, and can save lives at critical moments. Masao Maeda, the head tailor of the Demon Slayer Corps, is deeply engaged in tailoring. He is a young man with round eyes, kind to others, and his only shortcoming is lust. However, his skills are first class, and he never slacks when making uniforms. After all, it is related to the lives of the team members. Kiritani Zanto carefully looked at the serious-looking man in front of him, and he could not associate him with the dirty four-eyed. Mr. Masao, let me see Shinobu's uniform. Masao Maeda scratched his ears, and said in his heart, it's not good, could this person have heard something? He patted his chest and assured, little brother, believe me, those are all rumors you heard, what dirty four eyes, it's all slander. He was so angry that he jumped up and down as he spoke. If he didn't know about Kiritani Sento, he would have believed it. Kiritani Sento put his arm around Maeda Masao's shoulders and said with a smirk, then I'll go with you. Because of the mask, Kiritani Sento couldn't see the other's twitching mouth at all. No, 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 keep training, bye. Before Kiritani Sento could react, the other party had already slipped away. Kiritani Sento leaned against the door and sighed. He wanted to save Mr. Masao's life. Forget it, forget it. Because of his excellent eyesight, Kiritani Sento saw a wisp of smoke rising from the direction of the butterfly house from a distance. Without thinking, he burned the exposed team uniform in front of Mr. Masao. Sure enough, after a while, Maeda Masao, with a bruised face, passed by the door of the Rengoku family. Kiritani Sento looked like he had seen through everything. You know everything, Kid. Indeed, I wanted to persuade you just now. Kiritani Sento suddenly hugged Maida Masao and stared at him with lustful eyes. Maida Masao hurriedly protected himself. Although he was lustful, he definitely didn't like men. I don't have any special fetishes. Kiritani Sento. I have a set of clothes here. Take a look. It's probably a sailor suit, a short skirt and black stockings. Can you make it? Oh my god, brother is an expert. Of course. The day before yesterday, Masao patted Kiritani Sento on the shoulder, saying that brother believed in my craftsmanship and guaranteed that you would be satisfied. In this way, the lustful rabbit achieved his goal. If it were a serious tailor, he would definitely beat him out. Who can understand the soul of modern people? After getting the uniform, 12 days later, the crisp sound of wind chimes broke the quiet atmosphere of the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Whenever this sound was heard, people knew that someone from the swordsmith village had come to deliver swords. 2 people wearing fireman masks knocked on the door of the Rengoku family. One of the swordsmiths held the sword tightly in his arms, like he was holding his girlfriend, and the other just held it with one hand. The one holding the sword was Hotaru Tetsutsuka, and the one holding the sword was Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin. Hotaru Tetsutsuka was a head taller than his companion. Hotaru loves knives like his life. He regards knives as his relatives and lovers, while Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin likes to forge knives for young and beautiful girls. The two can be said to have distinct personalities. They just happened to come together to deliver knives. Kiritani Sento opened the door and was so scared that he almost closed it immediately. The tall man was definitely Tetsuzuka Hotaru. Hello, I'm Kiritani Sento. Tetsuzuka Hotaru bent down slightly and introduced himself. Tetsuzuka Hotaru, your knife maker. Clang. 2 kitchen knives fell out of Tetsuzuka Hotaru's arms. It was unknown whether it was intentional or accidental. But this is not the point. Who would carry 2 kitchen knives for no reason? Damn it. As expected of a knife fanatic, he tried not to break the knife in his life. Kiritani Sento took a breath of cold air. Kiritani asked cautiously, then can Mr. Kao Tetsuka give me the knife? Kao Tetsuka Hotaru thought for a moment and replied without emotion, Tetsujin Hara has to go to the butterfly house to deliver the knife. Can I hold it for a while? Just a little while. Tetsuzuka Hotaru hugged the knife tightly. This was a work he was very satisfied with recently, and he wanted to spend more time with his son of the knife. No problem at all. Kiritani felt that Mr. Kao Tetsuka had already calculated it. As for the kitchen knife. Yet. Thank you. Kao Tetsuka Hotaru's tone was still very cold, but there was a little bit of unnoticeable joy. Kiritani Sento and Tetsujin Tetsukahara walked in front, and Tetsujin Tetsuka Hotaru and his knife followed slowly behind. Tetsujin Tetsukahara whispered to Kiritani Sento, I'm sorry, Hotaru is really bad at treating people. He is 29 and still has no wife. Please forgive me, little brother. Kiritani Sento smiled and said that it really didn't matter. After all, everyone has something they love. Being able to spend every day with something you love is probably the happiest person in the world. Kiritani Sento and the others have already arrived at the door of the butterfly house, but Tetsuzuka Hotaru is still more than 20 meters away from them. Tetsuka Kawahara Tetsujin waved to Tetsuzuka Hotaru and shouted. Mr. Hotaru, hurry up. Don't keep me waiting. Oh. Got it. Chapter 30. Please come in. Sister Kane, it's me. After a while, a gentle laugh came from inside, refreshing the heart. It's Rabbit, are you here to see Shinobu? Kiritani Sento pushed open the door, but Suzuki Haruko suddenly jumped out from behind the door, scaring Kiritani Sento and Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin. Suzuki Haruko looked embarrassed, she just wanted to tease Kiritani Sento, and she didn't expect that there were others following her. Suzuki Haruko bowed to Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin and apologized. Seeing that she was a beautiful woman, Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin was not angry. Kiritani Sento was stunned in the place, why didn't he apologize to me, this is unscientific. Suzuki Haruko patted Kiritani Sento on the shoulder and comforted him, young man, relax, it's you who is scared. Kiritani Sento. Kiritani Sento. Knowing that Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin was here to deliver a knife, the master and apprentice happily invited him in. Rabbit, Shinobu is in her laboratory, go and call her. Oh. As a man who knows the terrain of the butterfly house, Kiritani Sento naturally knows where Shinobu's laboratory is. When he thought of seeing Shinobu, he ran to the backyard excitedly. Kiritani Sento didn't notice that Suzuki Haruko had a smirk on her face. Just as Kane was about to remind her, Suzuki Haruko covered her mouth. Shinobu's laboratory is located in the corner of the butterfly house. Under normal circumstances, no one would pass by. After all, it would be bad if she was studying poison and hurt someone. As soon as Kiritani Sento arrived near the laboratory, he felt a wave of heat coming towards him. Although it was summer, it shouldn't be so hot, right? Damn! It won't explode, right? With a worried look on his face, Kiritani Sento didn't even knock on the door, and pushed open the door of the laboratory at the speed of light, but the situation was much more serious than the explosion, and Kiritani Sento was exploded with internal injuries. 2 streams of red liquid flowed out of Kiritani Sento's nose. Because the drug studied this time kept releasing heat and it was summer, Koko Shinobu only wore an underwear dress on her upper body. After all, only her sister, Master, and Rabbit knew that Rabbit was a boy, but he shouldn't come at this time. The lavender ribbon was wrapped around Koko Shinobu's white neck, and above her slender waist was a half-hidden and half-exposed purple underwear dress, and the lifelike butterfly pattern was the finishing touch. Shinobu Koko's brain went blank for a moment, then she quickly put down the test tube in her hand and covered herself with it, screaming as expected. Rogue Rabbit, lecherous Rabbit! Kiritani Sento looked flustered. If it weren't for respect, she would have scolded Haruko, who was grinning, 180 times, Shinobu, listen to my explanation. Although it was an accident, Sento Kiritani didn't think he was a gentleman, and couldn't help but look at the undeveloped little rabbit on Shinobu's chest a few more times. After all, it was an unexpected surprise, who wouldn't love it? At this moment, Sento Kiritani perfectly interpreted a sentence, you just covet other people's bodies, you are cheap. If it were someone else, Shinobu Koko would have drawn her sword long ago, but Sento Kiritani couldn't do it and it was even more impossible. Shinobu Koko blushed and said angrily, slutty rabbit, get out now. I'll explain after I put on my clothes. Sorry. Sorry. Kiritani Sento lowered his head and retreated, then quickly closed the door. He leaned against the wall, his heart thumping wildly. Shinobu, who was getting dressed, was also beating wildly. He was so embarrassed, so embarrassed. Didn't the rabbit knock before entering the door? After a while, Shinobu Koko walked out of the laboratory with a red face. She grabbed Kiritani Sento's ears and asked, I'll give you a chance to explain, slutty rabbit. Kiritani Sento was also helpless and could only tell him about sending the knife and fearing an explosion. The reason for the explosion sounded far-fetched, but Shinobu Koko smiled, because the moment the rabbit came in, she saw a worried expression. Sometimes happiness is very simple, and it comes from the care of the loved one inadvertently. The two came to the front hall, and Suzuki Haruko laughed at the bloodstains left under Kiritani Sento's nose. Shinobu Koko, who saw everything, acted like a little adult and said to Suzuki Haruko, Teacher Haruko, adults should act like adults. Suzuki Haruko hid behind Kane and whispered, Look, Kane, Shinobu is mean to me again. Kane, who was caught in the middle, was quite helpless. It's hard to describe her own funny teacher. Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin, who was concentrating on eating, didn't care about what happened at all. When he found that the owner of the knife was here, he quickly handed the knife to Shinobu Koko. Although there are many requirements for this knife, it is not annoying to serve a beautiful woman. Shinobu Koko gently pulled out the knife, and the crisp sound was very pleasant, not but that was the sound of the scabbard. According to the characteristics of the master's use of poison, Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin specially improved the scabbard. Shinobu couldn't wait to pull out the sword. It had a four-leaf-shaped hilt and the handle was mainly mint green. The blade of the sword was slender and had a barb at the tip of the blade. The barb just fit the mechanism inside the scabbard and could absorb the poison placed in advance. Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin introduced his design seriously, and Koko Shinobu nodded continuously like a student who listened carefully to the class. After Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin explained the use of the sword, Koko Shinobu bowed to thank him. Thank you, your sword forging skills are simply amazing. Tetsuji Kawahara Tetsujin put his hands on his waist, looking very proud. As a swordsmith, it is a very happy thing to be understood and praised by others. The sun wheel sword is also known as the color-changing blade because it changes with the breathing method learned by the master, which is also something a swordsmith looks forward to. It seems that because Shinobu Koko created the insect breathing, the tip of the knife and the blade near the handle turned light purple, and the slender black back of the knife was very beautiful and looked like the stinger of an insect. What color will Rabbit's knife become? Yes, yes. He learned 2 breathing methods. Suzuki Haruko and Shinobu Koko couldn't help but look at Kiritani Sento, and even Tetsuji Kawara Tetsujin looked at him. Although he didn't learn sword skills, he felt that the color of the knife that could learn 2 breathing methods must be very beautiful. At this time, the belated Hotaru Tetsutsuka walked in with Kiritani Sento's knife. After repeated urging from Tetsuji Kawara Tetsujin, he reluctantly handed the knife to Kiritani Sento. Kiritani Sento tried to take the motionless knife, but Hotaru Tetsutsuka's hand strength was unexpectedly strong. You must take good care of your sword, promise me, okay? Promise him. Promise him. The originally normal scene of taking the sword almost made Suzuki Haruko turn it into a proposal. Kiritani Sento rolled his eyes at Suzuki Haruko, as if to ask, "Are you serious? Mr. Tetsuzuka, I will try my best not to break it." Kiritani Sento really didn't dare to make a complete promise, after all, who knows what kind of monsters he will fight in the future. After extremely complicated mental activities, Tetsuzuka Hotaru let go of the sword, and at that moment he seemed to have lost the whole world. Only the beautiful color-changing blade could soothe his injured heart. Under the gaze of 5 pairs of eyes, Kiritani Sento drew out the Sunwheel sword. Chapter 31. Black, the color passed down from ancestors. Only 2 people's swords have turned black throughout history. One is the god who fell into the mortal world, Yoriichi Tsugakoku, and the other is the son of the plain, the little angel Tanjiro. Kiritani Sento's face was full of joy. The black blade was the ticket to the breath of Sunday. After all, not everyone can learn the bug-level breathing method. Black. Tetsuzuka Hotaru's face sank. Just show me this. What the hell is black? Tetsuki Kawara Tetsujin touched his chin, as if he was thinking, but he couldn't figure out why after thinking for a long time. This is very strange. I have never heard of a black sun blade. Tetsuki Kawara Tetsujin shook his head slightly. Shinobu Koko stared at Kiritani Sento's knife with her big eyes flashing, and said, "Maybe it's because the breathing method that Rabbit has learned is too complicated." Others nodded one after another. Shinobu Koko's words sounded reasonable, but no one cared much except Hotaru Tetsutsuka. He was still waiting for the blade as dazzling as the sun to save him. Hotaru Tetsutsuka silently took out 2 kitchen knives from his arms, and kept muttering in a low voice, "Give me back my knives! Give me back my knives!" Seeing that the situation was not good, Tetsuji Kawara Tetsujin immediately pulled the stubborn Hotaru Tetsutsuka away. "Goodbye, everyone. Our mission is complete. I wish you good luck in slaying demons." Even though the 2 of them walked out of the butterfly house, Kiritani Sento could still hear the cry of Tetsuzuka Hotaru, "Black guy, give me back my sword, damn it! Why not red? Aren't you learning the breath of flame?" Seeing this, Sunyajin couldn't help but laugh. Kiritani Sento didn't care. At most, he would just be on guard against Mr. Tetsuzuka's kitchen knife next time. Anyway, Mr. Tetsuzuka is not a bad person, he's just not easy to get along with. He and Gyuu are like 8 immortals crossing the sea, each showing their magical powers. After putting away the knife, Kiritani Sento left the butterfly house and returned to the Rengoku family. The mission of the Demon Slayer Corps probably started the next day after receiving the knife. Sure enough, Taromaru flew back the next morning. It probably went out for a patrol and found traces of demons. "Master, Master! Mission assigned." Traces of evil spirits appeared in the town in the north. Kiritani Sento took out a small piece of dried meat and threw it to Taromaru, who caught it skillfully and put it on Kiritani Sento's shoulder to eat. Rengoku Ryuhuo adjusted Kiritani Sento's collar and continued to give him various instructions. Kiritani Sento didn't feel annoyed at all, but liked to listen to the nagging of the master's wife. "Just do your best, don't force yourself. Don't worry, master's wife." Kiritani Sento showed a reassuring smile. "Brother Rabbit, Senjiro will wait for you to come home to eat candied haws." The little guy's soft and sticky voice made people feel happy. Kiritani Sento bent down, gently patted Senjiro's forehead, and said gently, "Be obedient at home." Yet, Kiritani Sento looked into the house again. Kaoru didn't know what was going on. She got angry when she knew she had to carry out the mission, and she didn't say anything to come and see her brother. Kiritani Sento gently patted off the dust on the Haori, which was sewn by the master's wife. Kiritani Sento liked it very much. The pattern was the flame pattern passed down from the Rengoku family, representing that he was a member of the family. Master's wife, Senjuro, goodbye. After saying goodbye, Kiritani Sento pushed open the door, and suddenly a pair of hands hugged him from behind. Keiru's body trembled and he cried, "Brother, don't leave Keiru like that night, okay?" Kiritani Sento has never forgotten the snowy night when she led away the evil spirits alone. She was very scared and afraid of losing her only relative. Kiritani Sento turned around and said very seriously, "Brother will never leave you." Keiru was like a well-behaved cat, lying in Kiritani Sento's arms, feeling his brother's warm chest. Kiritani Sento felt much more relieved after seeing Keiru, so he pushed the door and left. But to his surprise, Koko Shinobu was actually outside the door. He didn't plan to tell Shinobu, it would be better not to tell her than to make her worry. Shinobu Koko was unexpectedly calm, just quietly watching Kiritani Sento. "I saw Taromaru flying back. Well, I have to go on a mission. Flying Fish hasn't come back yet, but my mission should be coming soon." Flying Fish is Shinobu Koko's name, after all, the fish she raises are called pufferfish. Suddenly Shinobu Koko came close to Kiritani Sento, tiptoed, and said in Kiritani Sento's ear, "Don't die, this is an order." A breath of hot air blew on Kiritani Sento, and he felt numb and tingling. Then the blood boiled. "Come back alive, reward, you, yo." Shinobu Koko said word by word. But in the blink of an eye, she was away from Kiritani Sento, so embarrassed that she couldn't raise her head, but the master said that this could inspire boys and make him stronger. In Shinobu Koko's cognition, the stronger the better. Kiritani Sento rushed all the way to the mission site as if he had been injected with chicken blood. "I won't say anything more, my wife is here, Muzan is dead. Goo. Goo 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 goo." The cry of the owl added more horror to the already gloomy forest. The wind blew the leaves and made a rustling sound. Every minute and every second in the woods made people's scalps numb. But Kiritani Sento was leisurely eating candied haws, with a small bag of dried meat hanging on his chest, and the gourd was always in his hand. Taromaru, who went out to explore the way, also flew back. It found the town and it was through this forest. Now that the destination was determined, Kiritani Sento ran at full speed, and the complex forest terrain was like walking on flat ground. Suddenly, a dim light appeared not far from Kiritani Sento, which looked like the light from a kerosene lamp. "Help! Someone save me! God, I don't want to die!" The screams of fear even drowned out the owl's cry, echoing throughout the forest. Kiritani Sento immediately changed direction. Although he didn't know why someone came to this ghost place in the middle of the night, he always adhered to the principle of helping others when seeing injustice. Besides, there was a high possibility of encountering evil spirits at this point, and it was close to the town. If he was lucky, the mission would be completed directly. "Demon, let go of that man!" Kiritani Sento entered the scene with a knife, and a tall man was sitting on the ground with a portable oil lamp. The man was trembling all over, his lips were purple, and he was obviously scared. But Kiritani Sento was surprised. He rushed to nothing, without a single strand of wool. Was this man frightened by the air? Kiritani Sento patted the man's shoulder and asked, "Brother, what are you doing at this hour? You're not committing a crime, are you?" The man looked up and fainted on the spot out of fear. White hair, is this still a human?" This was the man's thought before he fainted. Chapter 32. Taromaru nodded. "A white hair suddenly floated in front of you in the middle of the night. Are you scared?" Kiria Sento ignored the man and looked around vigilantly. What on earth scared him so much? But after waiting for a long time, there was nothing except the cry of the owl. This was outrageous. Kiria Sento was helpless. Did he run away? He had to keep shaking the man in front of him, trying to wake him up, but this guy slept like he took sleeping pills. In the end, Kiria Sento had to carry the man on his back and walk towards the town. When he went down the mountain, it was just dawn, but Kiria Sento was very energetic. "Hey, brother, are you awake?" Kiria Sento suddenly asked because he found that the man's breathing was disordered. "I'm sorry for causing you trouble." The man jumped off Kiritani Sento's back in a hurry, and ran towards the town frantically without even saying thank you. Kiritani Sento was shocked by the man's behavior, but he quickly caught up with him. He was so flustered that he didn't seem like a good person. The man glanced at Kiritani Sento beside him and was very surprised, but he had more important things to do and couldn't delay. Thank you for saving me. I'm a doctor. There is a patient who needs medicine urgently. It has been delayed for too long. My name is Yao Shanghai Shenari. Yao Shanghai Shenari looked anxious and was about to cry. Kiritani Sento only then knew why he went up the mountain in the middle of the night. It turned out to be to save people. My name is Kiritani Sento, and I'm a traveler passing by. And you're too slow. Hearing the word traveler, Yao Shanghai Shenari's eyes deliberately stayed on Kiritani Sento for a while. Kiritani Sento simply carried the man on his back again and asked him to show the way. With Kiritani Sento's help, Yao Shenpingchenj quickly arrived at his own pharmacy, and he rushed in a hurry. Kiritani Sento carefully observed the situation around him. Yao Shenpingchenj's pharmacy was close to the main road but located in the corner of the town. The small yard was full of shelves for drying medicinal materials. After a while, a woman with red and swollen eyes came out holding a child. She kept saying thank you and almost knelt down to Yao Shenpingchenj. Doctor, thank you for saving my son. Thank you so much. Yao Shenpingchenj had a trace of guilt on his face, and hurriedly helped the woman up. I'm sorry, I almost missed it, and I almost became a sinner. Looking at Yao Shenpingchenj's relieved look, Kiritani Sento felt that he was not a bad person, and he was a doctor, so everything that happened last night made sense. After sending the woman away, Yao Shenpingchenj walked quickly to Kiritani Zantu and prostrated himself to express his gratitude. Thank you, little brother. If it weren't for you, it would be too late. It's okay, the person I like is also a doctor. Doctors save lives, so they are kind people. Kiritani Zantu quickly helped Yao Shenpingchenj up, but unfortunately, Kiritani Zantu's stomach started to growl, which made him feel embarrassed. After all, he had such a big appetite. Mr. Kiritani is a traveler. If you don't mind, you can stay at my house temporarily, so you don't have to spend money on a hotel, and I can repay you. Kiritani Zantu actually refused, but he couldn't stand Yao Shenpingchenj's enthusiasm. I can eat a lot, you have to be prepared. Yao Shenpingchenj laughed, looking completely unconcerned. After all, a boy who looked at least 10 years younger than him could eat as much as he wanted. Don't worry, as the only pharmacy in this town, we will definitely provide you with enough food. However, Kiritani Sento immediately refreshed his cognition and ate 100 rice balls and 30 plates of fish in a row. Kiritani Sento was a little embarrassed and accidentally lost control. Mr. Yasuo, I will pay, I ate too much. After listening to Kiritani Sento's words, Yasuo laughed with his belly in his hands and replied, it's okay, I can still afford this little food. Kiritani Sento asked the other party what he encountered last night. From Yasuo Hinari's description, he felt that the other party probably encountered an evil spirit. After a brief understanding of the situation in the town, Kiritani Sento went out to investigate clues, and Yasuo Hinari went out to see a doctor. After walking around the town, Kiritani Sento did not find any missing people, but learned that Yasuo Hinari was a very popular pharmacist and everyone liked him very much. At the end of the day, Kiritani Sento only knew that many passing travelers disappeared. He was very puzzled. Could it be that the ghost did not eat local people, but only ate free-range ones? In the evening, Kiritani Zantu returned. Who wouldn't love to stay at Hinari Yakuo's house for free? Besides, he only knew him so far, so he could ask for more specific information. After all, he was a traveler, so that was a potential recipe for ghosts. At dinner, Hinari Yakuo specially prepared more than 100 rice balls, and Kiritani Sento choked a little when he was halfway through. Hinari Yakuo was so scared that he hurried to pour water. Just as he hurriedly brought the water cup over, Kiritani Sento found a layer of barely noticeable white powder hanging on the wall of the water cup. If it weren't for Ui Tong's abnormal eyesight, he really wouldn't have thought that this doctor would actually give him drugs. There must be something fishy. Kiritani Sento hurriedly picked up the gourd and drank a few sips. Hinari Yakuo never expected that this traveler actually brought his own water source. Mr. Kiritani, this water is from a mountain spring, a specialty of the town, let me give it to you to try. Yakasei Hinari handed the water to Kiritani Sento with a smile, and he took the water with a smile. Mr. Yakasei is too enthusiastic, ha ha ha. It should be, you are my lifesaver. Kiritani Sento is now more suspicious of this doctor. Why didn't the ghost eat him? Although he is a lifesaver, he is too enthusiastic, it's obviously the first day they met. And this guy actually drugged himself. Outrageous, outrageous. But Kiritani Sento can only wait and see. After dinner, Kiritani Sento took the glass of water back to the room arranged by Yakasai Hinari. Kiritani Sento looked at the glass of water, then took a big sip. He made a fake swallowing action and then spit it out under the cover of the quilt. Oh! So sweet, it's a local specialty. I should take some with me on the road, it's a good thing. Kiritani Sento deliberately praised the spring water loudly, of course for the peeking Yakasai Heisei outside. Because Kiritani Sento noticed that there was a very small hole on the wall opposite him, the other party must watch him drink, otherwise he would probably have to think of other ways. Kiritani Sento felt that this doctor might have something to do with the ghost, so he just played along. Chapter 33. Kiritani Sento pretended to be drugged and fell on the tatami. He acted very realistically, with all the weakness in his limbs and shaking left and right. Kiritani Sento is now very grateful for some pharmacological knowledge taught by Shinobu, such as identifying drugs. At this moment, the actors are in place, and only the leading actors are left. About an hour has passed, and Yakasai Hinari is completely sure that the drug has taken effect. Even though Kiritani Sento has been drugged, Yakasai Hinari still carefully opened the door and tiptoed to Kiritani Sento. Yakasai Hinari suddenly knelt in front of Kiritani Sento, full of guilt. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. As he spoke, Yakasai Hinari began to cry, and Kiritani Sento's eyes narrowed a slit, and Yakasai Hinari's forehead had already been bruised. His face was full of helplessness and regret, but he had to do this to protect the people in the town. Only by providing travelers to the evil spirits can the people in the town be safe. I'm sorry. Kiritani Sento sighed in his heart. As a doctor, he treated illnesses and saved lives, and Yakasai Hinari was good, because Kiritani Sento knew that the people in the town were grateful and respected this doctor from the bottom of their hearts. But as a person, he was evil. What was wrong with innocent passers-by? Why did they die for the people in the town? In the final analysis, they were all damned evil spirits. If it weren't for them, how could a doctor's hands be stained with blood? In the past, Kiritani Sento did not have a deep hatred for evil spirits. After all, he had no blood relatives who died because of evil spirits, but now he hated evil spirits. That thing forced a good person to become a bad person. Little Angel Kaneki passed by and said, "It's not who is wrong, but this world." In order not to expose Kiritani Sento, he could only listen quietly to Yakasai Hinari's confession. Facing the former traveler, Yao Shengping Cheng was not as entangled as he is now, because Kiritani Sento really helped him treat a patient and saved his own life. The somewhat impatient Xiafeng kept hitting the glass. After struggling in his heart, Yao Shengping Cheng silently walked to the wall on the side. After groping for a while, there was a click, and the mechanism on the floor started to work. After a while, a secret passage appeared next to Kiritani Sento. Yao Shengping Cheng carried Kiritani Sento and walked into the dark corridor. The entrance of the corridor was like a bloody mouth, swallowing the life that strayed into it indiscriminately. As the figures of the two people sank into it, the secret passage door was integrated into the floor again, and no trace could be seen from the surface of the floor. The dim firelight illuminated the corridor, but its effect was minimal. The strong smell of blood was mixed with the stench of rotting corpses. Coupled with the closed corridor, Kiritani Sento's stomach had protested, but he still suppressed it. Yao Shengping Cheng continued to apologize, but he did not stop moving forward. After walking for about a few minutes, he came to a wooden door. After getting his mood right, Yao Shengping Cheng said with a gloomy face, "Your things have been delivered. I hope you can abide by the agreement between us." Ha ha ha. Yao Sheng, do you think you are a good person? Hypocritical guy. Half of the people I have eaten so far were sent by you. The continuous laughter was like a sharp sword piercing Yao Shengping Cheng's heart. He did not refute it, because the other party was right. He had not been a good person since he murdered the first traveler. After Yao Shengping Cheng was silent for a long time, he said sternly, "This is the 25th person. You will leave the town after you agree. I hope you keep your promise." Tisk. Fool, I suddenly don't want to leave again. 30, oh, no, I will leave after 40. The evil ghost raised the price on the spot, which was comparable to the evil capitalism. Yao Shengping Cheng was so angry that his face turned red, and then he silently pushed open the blood-stained wooden door. The smell of blood was stronger inside the wooden door, and the bones were piled up into a small mountain. On the mountain of bones sat a thin and tall evil ghost, with 6 octopus-like tentacles hanging on both sides of the evil ghost's body. Yao Shangping Chang angrily questioned the other party, Yi Zhang, you don't keep your promise. Yi Zhang gently stroked his red tentacles and said with disdain, what can you do, why don't you quickly present that human to me? Yao Shangping Chang stopped talking, he put Kiritani Zantu in front of Yi Zhang, and the other party laughed even happier when he saw Kiritani Zantu. Like a child who got a long-awaited toy, the ghost hunter, I didn't expect that Yao Sheng, this idiot, could charm the ghost hunter. Damn! Ghost hunter, I'm going to chop you into pieces today, he he he. Such a pervert, how deep is his hatred for the demon slayer core that he wants to chop himself into pieces? Because the room was very dim, no one noticed that Kiritani Sento's hand was always on the hilt of the knife at his waist. Kiritani Sento planned to attack him by surprise, after all, being the 6th one is not too much. Just before Kiritani Sento made his move, Yakasi Ihanari suddenly pulled out a knife from his waist and stabbed it deeply into Izan's heart. Blood flowed out along the blade, and Izan was stunned. He never thought that this guy would resist. Yao Hung, you've grown up. You dare to resist me? Under Yao Hung Pingchen's shocked gaze, Yi Zhang nonchalantly drew out his knife, and then said in a didactic tone, Yao Hung, the heart is not the vital part. Surprising, unexpected. While speaking, the wound on Yi Zhang's chest had healed. As a doctor, Yao Hung Ping Cheng couldn't believe his eyes. This guy couldn't be called a monster anymore. Yao Hung Ping Cheng originally wanted to kill Yi Zhang and then end his sinful life, but he didn't expect the first one to be a complete fantasy. Yao Sheng Ping Cheng knelt helplessly on the ground, his eyes had lost their light, and he said numbly, kill me. Yi Zhang laughed triumphantly, no, 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 you won't die, I will break your limbs, and then eat the people in the town in front of you. Eat the people you cherish, such as the mother and son today, how about it? As soon as Yi Zhang finished speaking, Yao Sheng Ping Cheng picked up the knife and chopped at the opponent's tentacles like crazy, and the knife left a shallow mark on the tentacles. Yi Zhang, however, hugged the injured tentacle and howled as if his mother had died. Dare to hurt my lovely tentacles, go to hell. Yi Zhang was furious and punched Yao Sheng Ping Cheng's head. Before he died, Yao Sheng Ping Cheng glanced at Kiritani Battle Rabbit and said guiltily, Mr. Kiritani, I'm sorry. Chapter 34. Then Kiritani Sento grabbed the back of Yakuo Haishi's collar and retreated. Between killing Yi Zhang with one blow and saving Yakuo Haishi, Kiritani Sento chose to rescue. Kiritani Sento let go of Yakuo Haishi's collar, raised the Nichiren sword and pointed at evil, taunting, damn tentacle monster, I will take you today. Yi Zhang completely ignored Kiritani Sento, and knelt on the ground with a sad face to pick up the tentacles. The tentacles were obviously the top priority. But the next second he swallowed the broken tentacles, and this scene can be said to be stunned Kiritani Sento. Is this the world of Yandere? Eat everything. Although I don't understand it, I am shocked. Yakuo Haishi was speechless for a moment. He wanted to kill the other person, but he saved himself. Yao Shenpingchenj, who was extremely regretful, kept apologizing, Mr. Kiritani, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Kiritani Sento took a deep breath, and the rhythm of the breath of fire filled his body, and even the temperature around him rose slightly. Kiritani Sento saved him but didn't forgive him. What's the difference between taking other people's lives and being a demon? You shouldn't apologize to me but to the 24 dead travelers. Kiritani Sento's words were like a needle with poison, piercing Yao Shenpingchen's heart. Yes. Mr. Kiritani was right, he was a sinner who helped the evil. In just a few breaths, the evil had eaten up his tentacles. He touched his stomach with satisfaction, and the tentacles that were originally broken had already recovered. 2 of the tentacles were wrapped around the evil's arms, and the extra part exuded a metallic luster. Yi Zhang looked at Kiritani Sento with contempt and roared, you are a rubbish ghost hunter, sneaking up on me and showing no martial ethics. You broke all my tentacles. Cutting me into pieces, pulling out my tendons and skinning me are not enough to pay for your sins. Kiritani Sento immediately launched the land-type wheel flame dance, and a semicircular flame sword energy surrounded his body. He flashed in front of evil at lightning speed. The tentacles behind Yi Zhang instantly threw out wet and slippery slime, and Kiritani Sento slipped and chopped off. Yi Zhang swung the broken blade formed by the tentacles at Kiritani Sento. The unexpected slippery slime and the short blade as hard as steel made it think it was the MVP of the game. Boy, don't be so reckless in your next life. Tisk. Kiritani Sento sighed, and his crescent pupils lit up immediately. The idea of honing his sword skills failed again. With his strong dynamic vision, Kiritani easily dodged the attack, and swung out the one-type Shiranui, a fierce horizontal slash like a flame bursting towards Yizhong's neck. However, Yizhong was as scared as if he had peed, and a large amount of mucus was secreted. Kiritani's antis slid a few meters away as if he stepped on ice. Therefore, the Nichiren sword only cut off half of the opponent's neck. Yizhong changed his previous taunting and cursed in his heart. Damn, can an ordinary demon hunter do that? Is it that serious? Sending a pillar to cut himself, today is really bad luck. Kiritani's antis swung the 4-type Shenjun winding at his feet, and the burning vortex swept past, the mucus was evaporated instantly, and he also stabilized his body. Kiritani Sento lowered his thumb and sneered, that's it. You are such a loser. And the tentacles are so disgusting. Look at other ghosts. They have claws and their blood magic is gorgeous. You are like a pissed off person. I will cut your tentacles into 8 pieces, you rubbish tentacle monster. It doesn't matter if you sneer at me, and it doesn't matter if you compare me with other ghosts. But I can't stand it if you scold my tentacles. Ah! Damn ghost hunter! Arojong is like a mad bull, his eyes are bloodshot, and his anger overcomes his reason. Kiritani Sento showed a wicked smile at the corner of his mouth. This guy is really easy to fool. When his anger value is full, his sanity value will drop wildly. It's so lucky to meet such a ghost. Kiritani Sento put the knife back into the sheath, and then walked towards Arojong step by step. The furious Izan released all his tentacles, and 6 tentacles continuously stabbed at Kiritani Sento. The wall behind him was already riddled with holes. However, with Crescent Moon's dynamic vision, Izan's attack seemed to be accelerated by 0.5 times, and Kiritani Sento easily dodged it. Izan had long forgotten the slippery slime he was good at, and his strength was not as good as that of the lower string, so attacking alone was completely useless. In the blink of an eye, Kiritani Sento came in front of Izan. Facing countless evil ghosts who eat people, he had no mercy. Holding the hilt of the knife tightly with his right hand, the dragon-shaped flame gradually surrounded the entire sword. This was also the only sword-drawing skill of Breath of Flame, the 8th form, Fulongtion. In just one breath, the fire dragon pierced through the neck of Izan, and Kiritani Sento put away the sword handsomely. Fulongtion was extremely fast, and its power was second only to the final form, Purgatory, but because it was a sword-drawing slash, it was very limited in actual combat. But it was just right for Kiritani Sento, who had special eyes. Izan's tentacles were still extending towards Kiritani Sento, but just before they were about to touch him, the tentacles stopped. Izan looked confused. Why did his tentacles look so high? Why? It was not until Kiritani Sento cut off all its tentacles with one knife that Izan realized that it was not the tentacles that became higher but himself that became lower. To be more precise, he was beheaded. Looking at the tentacles and body that turned into ashes bit by bit, Izan died with hatred. Yao Sheng Pingchen's world is still restarting. The boy in front of him didn't even use his full strength. Although he couldn't understand it, he knew that the boy's battle with the evil chapter was more like a strong man playing with the weak. Yao Sheng Pingcheng didn't care anymore. He looked at Kiritani Sento with expectation in his eyes, but it was just the expectation of death. Kill me. Kiritani Sento pushed open the blood-stained wooden door and said slowly, go and surrender. Our swords never swing at ordinary people. By the way, take those bones and bury them. At least we can't let those travelers die without a place to live. Looking at the tall figure of the boy, Yao Sheng Pingcheng felt ashamed of himself. How much suffering did he have to endure to fight against such a creature beyond cognition? The drizzle wet every inch of the land. Kiritani Sento was also helpless. Why did it rain? The gloomy feeling made people very uncomfortable. Yao Sheng Pingcheng braved the rain and carried the bones of the deceased to the mountains. Kiritani Sento followed closely behind. Since we met, let's see them to the end. Is Yakuo Haishi good or evil? This question is unknown. However, a string of white bubbles emerged from the puddle where Yakuo Haishi stepped. Chapter 35. After burying the skeleton of the traveler, Yao Shenpingchenj planned to turn himself in. After the evil chapter was resolved, he should take responsibility for the mistakes he made. As they walked, Yao Shenpingchen stopped moving, and the secretly observing Kiritani Sento was confused. Because in front of Yao Shenpingchen, there was nothing else except the white rain curtain. However, a pair of scarlet eyes lit up in the rain, which were the eyes that the two saw in the forest last night. There is no doubt that there is more than one ghost in the town, and it has been waiting for Yao Shenpingchen to return to this forest again. Like a beast squatting in the grass to wait for its prey, it enjoys the pleasure of letting the prey go and then catching the prey. After the eyes, a pair of mouths full of sharp teeth appeared in the rain curtain, and its slender tongue kept rubbing Yao Shenpingchen's face. My prey, that rubbish Yizhong is not worthy. If I were not a demon hunter, I would kill it with my own hands. Then a pale hand lifted up Yasuo Hinari, and his eyes focused on a big tree next to him. Stop hiding in front of me, you bug from the Demon Slayer Corps, like a mouse. Pa! The demon spat in the direction of the tree, and the tree fell down at the same time. Kiritani Sento jumped down from the tree helplessly. He subconsciously tightened his knife. This strange demon was completely different from the weak Yizhong just now. One was a little kid who was full of urine and the other was a boxing champion. The moment Kiritani Sento appeared, two words appeared in his originally red eyes. Lower string was written in the left eye and lock was written in the right eye. Good news, the opportunity to be promoted to a pillar has come. Bad news, it is the first time to meet the 12 demon moons, and there is no experience at all. The 12 Kizuki are the 12 direct subordinates of Muzan Kibutsuji, the ancestor of demons. The 12 Kizuki are divided into upper and lower strings, and the upper strings are the strongest among the 12 Kizuki. But the lower strings are also the best among the evil demons, and they are definitely not something that ordinary team members can contend with. The eyes of the lower string Lu are full of absolute confidence. There is no difference between stepping on the evil chapter and crushing an ant, and the human in front of him is even more so. Ant, you should feel happy because you met Lord Kyumaizu. I am the real 12 Kizuki. As soon as Kyumaizu finished speaking, his whole body emerged from the rain. Kyumaizu was wearing a white suit. He threw the medicine life aside like throwing away garbage. Kyumaizu gently straightened his hat and said in a compassionate tone, Ant, Lord Kyumaizu will let you go today, go away. After saying that, Kyumaizu turned around gorgeously, and then he waved his hand casually, and the rain on the ground gathered into a four-legged table and a chair. Yao Shenping's achievements were placed in the water plate on the water table. Kyumaizu sat on the chair and took out the fork and knife for eating Western food from his arms. It can be seen that Kyumaizu is still a particular ghost. He uses a knife and fork to eat and sets up a table on the spot. Kiritani Battle Rabbit was completely ignored like air, which made him speechless. However, the lower moonland is right in front of him. Killing it can promote him to a pillar. It must be said that happiness comes too suddenly. After all, becoming a pillar can enable many things of Kiritani Battle Rabbit to be implemented. Otherwise, even a Class A swordsman would not be enough to convince the crowd. From the current situation, the lower moonland should have the ability to control water. Without hesitation, Kiritani Sento swung his knife towards Kyumaizu. With the help of the speed of the wheel flame dance, Kiritani Sento had already chopped Kyumaizu. But what was strange was that Kyumaizu was still wiping his knife and fork slowly, as if chopping off a head was nothing in front of elegance. The blade with flames attached to it easily and neatly pierced Kyumaizu's neck. It was definitely not easier than it. But Kiritani Sento clearly felt that there was no real feeling. He didn't know what the guy did, but it definitely avoided the attack. Kiritani Sento, on the other hand, picked up the other person's main dish and ran away. Since this guy wanted to eat it, he just didn't let him eat it. Although Yakasi Hinari made a mistake, he should be judged by humans, not the evil spirits who wanted to cut him into sashimi. Lower rank is great, don't look down on me, even if your father Muzan comes, it won't help. Tisk. Kisui silently put the knife and fork on the table, rubbing his upper and lower rows of sharp teeth constantly, punching the ground, and instantly a big hole was blown out. As a gourmet, it is fun to eat elegantly, watching the prey cry, beg, and fear little by little until it is desperate. Wonderful. It felt so wonderful, but Kiritani Battle Rabbit not only snatched his prey but also scolded its idol, Muzan. Miserable lord. Damn it. Really damn it. I gave you my life but you don't cherish it. The back teeth were broken by Kyumaizu's anger. Kiritani Sento ignored him completely, put Yasui Heisei in a safe place and turned back. He replied very domineeringly, we humans don't need your charity for our lives, we will fight for it ourselves. Tisk! Kimaizu waved his hand, and his entire left arm turned into drops of rain. In just a breath, hundreds of drops of rain turned into knives and forks. Kiritani Sento was surrounded by dense attacks, and a vortex of Shenjun was swung out, and the knives and forks transformed by rain were all blocked. The knives and forks that were not blocked were embedded in the surrounding trees, and large areas of trees fell down. However, there were still a few scattered scratches on Kiritani Sento's shoulders and arms, and the smell of blood spread in the air. Kimaizu kept sniffing, and suddenly it became excited. Rare blood! Ha ha ha, I didn't expect it to be rare blood. Kimaizu's expression was happier than winning 100 million in the lottery. After all, rare blood is a permanent strength-enhancing potion for demons. Eating a human with rare blood is equivalent to 100 ordinary humans. Kiritani Sento waved the Nichiren sword again and rushed towards Kimaizu. He wanted to find out why the neck didn't die. It must be because he didn't cut it. Kimaizu covered his face and laughed crazily, then he opened his arms and spun like a gyroscope. The knife and fork shot out like bullets and went straight to Kiritani Sento. It was one of Kimaizu's blood demon arts, the knife and fork tornado. Nail! 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 The knife and fork made of water and the Nichiren sword kept rubbing against each other, as if Kimaizu was not shooting out soft water but hard steel. After a series of sharp collisions, Kiritani Sento and Kimaizu stopped at the same time. Kiritani Sento's forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat. He had just blocked at least 1,000 attacks from knives and forks. The rain was still falling, and Kimaizu's power seemed endless, which was also one of the sources of his confidence. Chapter 36. Kiraizu took a stance and said with disdain on his face, Tisk! The strength of your lower six is the same as yours, there is a lot of water. Muzan is blind. Kiraizu's face was livid. Although he was angry, he did not lose his mind. He saw with his own eyes how the Trashizan was killed by this guy's mouth. Kiraizu waved his hands and complained, Give up, kid, I won't let you kill me. Kiraizu felt that he couldn't lose in momentum, so he looked down on each other. I will explain the facts to you in the next second, and I will chop your neck. Kiraizu rushed up with a knife as soon as he finished speaking. His speed like thunder frightened Kimaizu. He really suspected that this guy was a pillar. A move of rising sky fire rushed straight to the top of Kimaizu's head, and the whistling flames passed through the opponent's head, while Kimaizu rushed forward against the blade. The blood demon art weak water was activated, and Kiritani Sento's sword skills were instantly invalidated. He he he. The strange laughter filled Kiritani Sento's ears, and his hair stood up. Kimaizu's claws slashed across Kiritani Sento's chest like a flying knife. If Kiritani Sento was a step slower, it would not be his clothes that were cut. Kiritani Sento seized this opportunity and slashed at Kimaizu's neck. To his surprise, the blade passed through again, and the water spurted out. Finding something wrong, Kiritani Sento immediately distanced himself. The necks of the 12 demon moons were hard to cut, but this guy was soft and hard to cut. Why is he getting stronger as he gets softer? Damn, hurry up and make it hard for me. Damn it. Kiritani Sento stared at Kimaizu closely, this lower rank was quite interesting. Ha ha ha. Come and chop my neck. This is the second time you didn't chop it off. I'll take your blood. Kiraizu made hand seals at a speed invisible to the naked eye, and the surrounding rain quickly gathered in front of Kimaizu's mouth, and the scene was like a siphon. Kimaizu shouted, Blood Demon Art Tidal Cannon. The water gushed like a missile, and the trees along the way were instantly smashed, with an irresistible force. Kiritani Sento seemed a little confused, but he was confused not by the opponent's strength but by his moves. Are you sure this isn't water escape? Who cares? Who cares? What the hell? Don't insult my blood demon art, damn human. Suizu was very satisfied with his large-scale attack technique. He didn't think that any demon hunter could stop it, and the smile of victory came as promised. Toriya Sento took a deep breath, sheathed his sword, and faced the surging tide. He was as still as a mountain. At this moment, the world seemed to have nothing to do with him. 8th type Fulong Flash. As the fire dragon wrapped around the entire scabbard, the dragon's roar could be heard faintly. Even if your tide is surging, I am still as steady as an old dog. The moment the ghoul's tide cannon arrived, Kiritani Sento also swung out his sword, and the several-meter-high wave was torn apart. Kiritani Sento stood quietly between the cracks with the tip of his sword facing the ground. Kimaizu was completely dumbfounded. What the hell is this bullshit move? It's my ultimate move. The previous attack by Kiritani Sento was all he had. I don't know ninjutsu, but I know sword skills, which are very similar to the sword skills of Tensho Ryushin. Kyumaizu rushed forward after just a second, and his arms turned into knives and forks. He had decided to eat up the delicious thin blood on the spot. After eating this guy, Kyumaizu had the confidence to launch a bloody battle with lower string 4. In an instant, the forest burst into knife lights and fork shadows, and the crisp sound resounded in the black forest. Kiritani Sento had several scars on his body, but he had not left any scars on Kyumaizu, even though he had chopped Kyumaizu nearly 1,000 times. Kiritani Sento knew that the water escape just now was just a trick, and his other blood demon technique was really outrageous, as if it was cheating. Ha ha ha, my weak water ignores attacks, come on. Let's hurt each other. It's a pity you can't hit me, ha ha ha. The taunts continued, and Kiritani Sento was speechless. This guy must have relied on this trick to survive to the 12 demon moons. After all, his real strength is not very strong. Seizing this gap, Kiritani Sento chopped through the opponent's neck again. He would never be scared by ignoring physical attacks. This blood demon art of Kyumaizu definitely has loopholes, such as time limits, and a neck that cannot be chopped off will never exist in the lower limit. The two of them fought together, and Kiritani Sento had chopped Kyumaizu's neck dozens of times. Sure enough, ghosts are still afraid of having their necks chopped off. It will subconsciously dodging. Kyumaizu chopped off Kiritani Sento's neck with a knife. At the moment of its attack, Kiritani Sento subconsciously swung his knife to block it. The Nichiren sword pierced through the water blade with a sizzling sound. But just right, the tip of the knife passed through its chest, and red liquid was thrown out. Although it was only for a moment, Kiritani Sento was ecstatic. Why did Kyumaizu just get hurt? Is it because he forgot to use the blood demon technique at the moment of attack? Or will the blood demon technique be lifted at the moment of his attack? Kiritani Sento continued to test, and finally he caught the moment of Kyumaizu's attack again. The fifth type of flame tiger was launched, and it was as fast as a tiger pouncing on its prey, biting Kyumaizu's neck fiercely. Kyumaizu's eyes widened. Its neck was pierced, and blood flowed like a surging tide, flowing all over the ground, and even dyed Kiritani Sento's collar red. Kiritani Sento immediately changed his sword skills to the first form of Shiranui, and the horizontal slash was about to chop off Kyumaizu's head. The sense of crisis triggered Kyumaizu's desire to survive. Being beheaded by an ordinary swordsman was a great shame. Weak water was activated instantly, and Kiritani Sento failed to behead for the 50th time. Tisk! Kiritani Sento retreated at the speed of light. It was enough to know the opponent's weakness. However, the confidence in Kyumaizu's eyes was gone, and it was replaced by caution. Faced with the temptation of rare blood, Kyumaizu would not give up. The next step was just to be more careful. When the claws pierced the fragile throat, it was time to taste the blood of victory. Kyumaizu stared at Kiritani Sento greedily, like a pervert. Are you really a lower string? Kiritani Sento's sudden question made Kyumaizu startled. This guy was really rude, as if he was tearing his mouth apart. This was the most slurred swordsman he had ever seen. Boring. Kyumaizu replied coldly. A tidal cannon was fired, and the surging waves swept over. Kyumaizu was definitely going to kill Kiritani Sento, and he must tear his mouth and crush his throat at the first opportunity. Kyumaizu had never hated a creature with a mouth so much in his life. Chapter 37. In an instant, the Kiritani Sento in front of Kyumaizu turned into 3, and he was confused. Who is the ghost? How can you, a human, split into 3? The 3 Kiritani Sentos made the same movements, and 3 blades burning with flames went straight to Kyumaizu. Kyumaizu released a knife and fork tornado, and the 3 Kiritani Sentos were pierced at the same time, but the 3 people could not collect a drop of blood. Kyumaizu looked around in panic. It has always been only ghosts who release blood ghost arts to hit people, but in this life, he was fooled by humans. At the moment when his fantasy was shattered, Kyumaizu felt a hand on his left shoulder, and he was so scared that he looked back quickly, but there was nothing there. Are you stupid? I'm on the right. Kiritani Sento launched an illusion, and originally wanted to take the opportunity to cut off Kyumaizu's neck, but who knew that this guy was still using the blood demon art of weak water under the illusion. The intuition of the demon is indeed much more sensitive than that of humans, and the illusion is not enough to make it relax its vigilance. Kyumaizu's veins bulged, and he became furious. He chopped down Kiritani Sento with his sword, and he kept cursing, while Kiritani Sento pretended to retreat. At the same time, his arm was chopped, and the blood was like a small red snake crawling along Kiritani Sento's elbow to the back of his hand. He gasped for breath, as if he had consumed a lot of energy, like a swaying grass in a rainstorm, fragile and helpless. Kumaizu smiled, and his initial worry disappeared. This kid must have cast an illusion just now, but the cost of the illusion is very high. But he didn't expect that I was still in a weak water state under the illusion, and the plan to sneak attack him failed. Ha ha ha, your plan failed. Kumaizu laughed. Kiritani Sento ran back with a look of horror, unable to stand up to him. His swaying appearance was like a candle in the wind. Seeing that the opponent's plan was exposed by him, Kumaizu was even more proud. If it came to threats, that kid only had them just now, and now he was a pure lamb to be slaughtered. Kumaizu's mind was full of the idea of this wave is stable. He took a few big steps to rush in front of Kiritani Sento, and a knife went straight to Kiritani Sento's head. It was at the moment of this attack that Kiritani Sento turned around at lightning speed and directly displayed the ultimate secret of the breath of fire, the ninth form of purgatory. A man and a ghost stood in the blazing flames. The dancing flames were like the fire from hell, with the momentum to burn all the sins in the world. This move was the most explosive of the breath of flame, and could instantly cause deep damage to the ghost. In the end, the flames devoured the evil ghost, and Kumaizu's eyeballs were about to fall out. It never thought that the exhausted Kiritani Sento could release such a strong attack. How is it possible? Why? How is this possible? The complacency in Kumaizu's eyes disappeared again, but it was no longer replaced by caution. It had no chance because its head and body were dissipating. Kiritani Sento endured the severe pain and pulled out the blade inserted in his left shoulder. He was afraid that if he hadn't reacted quickly enough just now, the dinner knife would have been stuck in his head. Kiritani Sento looked at Kumaizu with a smug look on his face, made a face and mocked, "You are indeed careful enough and cherish your life enough, but I can act. Why, is it like that? I'll kill you with my acting." Kiritani Sento's words were like salt on a wound, or salt water, which made Kumaizu's eyes shed blood and tears. Lower 6, dead at the hands of an actor. As the saying goes, one of the four great illusions in life, this wave is stable, and generally it is a sure loss. Kumaizu completely dissipated on the spot, and said that all the ashes would be scattered for you. Kiritani Sento sat down against a big tree, gasping for breath continuously. It seemed that it was too much of a stretch. He relied on Uiatong throughout the battle with Kumaizu. Especially the last illusion, the consumption was huge, but in the end he won. Just from the ability, it can be seen that Kumaizu is an extremely cautious ghost. Ruo Shui is indeed strong, but its owner is not very smart. Sure enough, no ghost can resist the temptation of thin blood, just like every sea cucumber cannot resist the temptation of abalone. Kiritani Sento deliberately acted weak, but he was really tired, but he still had the strength to swing a knife. Only in this way could he make Kumaizu let down his guard and eat him. The deadlock could only be broken in that moment, that is, the moment Kumaizu attacked. Kiritani Sento first treated the wound on his left shoulder. Uiatong's healing technique is very useful for external injuries, and it consumes 5 chicken legs for one treatment. Kiritani Sento did not treat the shallow wounds on his body, let them heal naturally. Kiritani Sento stretched beautifully and said with a smile, "Woohoo! So happy! Finally I can go back to the city and see Shinobu. Damn old 6, you've delayed me for so long." A certain ska owed Kiritani Sento a little golden man, and Kumaizu was unlucky enough to be killed, directly killed. After a while, the rain stopped, and the long-lost sunshine broke through the dark clouds and shone on Kiritani Sento. Kiritani Sento greedily enjoyed the sunshine, and at the same time complained, "It's really annoying not to be able to bask in the sun." Identification completed, successfully killed the lower string. Taromaru hovered over Kiritani Sento's head. It originally wanted to go back to find reinforcements, but it didn't expect its master to be so powerful, and single-handedly brushed the small boss in the novice village. Kiritani Sento opened his eyes, revealing a trace of laziness. After throwing a piece of dried meat, Taromaru flew away in a hurry. It wanted to take this good news back to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, using the kind of flying. Kiritani Sento picked up the gourd on his waist and drank the wine in the gourd. It was sweet and perfect. He hummed a little song happily, with the sky as his blanket and the ground as his bed. He was not lazy to rest for a while. Feeling that the sunlight in front of him was blocked, Kiritani Sento opened his eyes. Yao Shenpingchen just knelt down. As if he had expected it, he spoke first, "Mr. Kiritani, thank you for getting rid of the harm to the town. I will go down and surrender. We are destined to meet." After solemnly thanking him, Yao Shenpingchen walked slowly down the mountain until his tall but hunched figure completely disappeared from Kiritani's eyes. Tick! Tick! The raindrops were like elves living on green leaves, playing fully falling on the leaves, and then sliding down the leaves into the soil to moisturize everything. Kiritani Sento's whispers passed through the forest softly, "Have a good journey, I hope I won't encounter evil spirits in my next life. Sorry, I'm so late." The cool wind after the rain blew through the leaves, bringing the fragrance of soil and nature. SHH. SS. Chapter 38. Yabayashiki Yoya smiled indifferently. If it was a rabbit, there would be no problem. "Taromaru, how is your master's mission?" Gaga. He encountered the road of the lower moon. As soon as Taromaru finished speaking, Yabayashiki Yoya's expression instantly became serious, with surprise in his eyes. Then he successfully killed the lower moon land. Ha ha ha. After delivering the message, Taromaru flew to the Rengoku family without stopping to report safety. Yabayashiki Yoya let out a long breath. Why does this bird breathe so hard when talking? Ha ha ha, okay. I believe in your promise, rabbit. Ahem. Yabayashiki Tenin knelt behind her and gently stroked her husband's back, saying softly, "Yoya, take care of yourself, you promised rabbit that you would live." 3 days later, Kiritani Sento returned to the headquarters. As soon as he walked into the door, members of the two teams of Hidden ran over with 2 stretchers. Even though the people on the stretchers were wrapped like mummies, Kiritani Sento recognized them as Jiyu and Tsutomu at a glance. Damn! What happened to these 2 people? Why did they fight like this? Countless question marks floated across his head. Kiritani Sento looked down at his own clothes. His clothes were torn in many places, and only the haori sewn by his master's wife was intact. Although he looked like a beggar, at least he could walk back, and he was just exhausted. Suddenly, a strong arm hugged Kiritani Sento from behind, and the enthusiastic laughter was exciting. "Rabbit, what a coincidence, I'm back too." Kiritani Sento was overjoyed, turned around and hugged his eldest brother. "Brother, I beheaded the lower string road, isn't it amazing? Happy things should be shared with close friends, and everyone is happy together." The air was silent for 3 seconds, and then the laughter came like a storm, shaking Kiritani Sento's head. When he came to his senses, Kyojuro had already lifted him up high, with 1 point of envy and 9 points of surprise in his eyes. "Ha ha ha, rabbit, you are too awesome. Brother, I haven't met a 12 demon moon in a year, and I beheaded 49 demons this time." Rengoku Kyojuro was not in a hurry to take the task, but was familiar with the area in charge of Makijuro, and he was preparing to become the next flame pillar. After all, this is passed down from generation to generation in the Rengoku family. "Yo yo yo! How old are you still holding me up high? Ha ha ha!" The joyful teasing suddenly appeared, and Kiritani Sento turned his head, looked at Koko Shinobu with affection, and responded with a smile, "Long time no see, Shinobu." "Indeed, it's been a long time." Koko Shinobu tilted her head, blinking her big eyes at Kiritani Sento, her eyebrows curved like a blooming crabapple. Seeing that Kiritani Sento's girlfriend had come, Kyojuro put him down, then patted Kiritani Sento on the shoulder, whispering and joking, "Go find your little lover, rabbit." Before Kiritani Sento could react, Kyojuro had disappeared. Koko Shinobu was like a kitten who had been waiting for her owner for a long time. Seeing that there was no one around, she excitedly jumped into Kiritani Sento's arms. "I missed you so much. But we succeeded in poisoning that demon, how awesome is that?" Looking at Shinobu Koko's expectant eyes, Kiritani Sento touched her little head, looking like a little fanboy, as expected of a medical genius. "Awesome, my Shinobu." Shinobu Koko showed a pair of white little fangs. Even if it was the most ordinary compliment, as long as it was said by a rabbit, she would be very happy. People, that's how it is, love everything for the one they love. The 2 of them strolled on the avenue of the headquarters, telling each other what happened during the mission, sighing, frowning with worry or surprise. Other passing team members looked at the 2 from time to time. In the Demon Slayer Corps accompanied by Death, whether it was family affection, friendship, or love, it was like candy, exciting. Unintentionally, the two came to the door of the butterfly house. Shinobu Koko looked around nervously like a thief, and Kiritani Sento followed her line of sight, but there was nothing. With a smack, Shinobu Koko quickly pushed open the door of the butterfly house. Her voice was as small as a mosquito. This is the reward they promised. Kiritani Sento directly used a wave of tactics to get more and more. I personally feel that it is not enough. The lower 6 is too strong. I beat them all. Shinobu Koko pushed Sento Kiritani away and pretended to be disgusted. Humph. Don't get more and more. Master said that I can't spoil you. Oh my god, Sister Haruko, how can you do this to me, Kiritani Sento thought. Just as Kiritani Sento in the moment of daze, the nimble Koko Shinobu had already slipped out of his arms. As soon as Koko Shinobu left, another team of Yin's teammates rushed to the butterfly house carrying a blood-stained stretcher. Sister Haruko, help! He's dying! The members of Yin shouted anxiously. Although they could not participate in the battle, they always tried their best to protect the lives of the combatants. The members of Yin were responsible for the aftermath of the battle, and also shouldered other support. Although they could not kill demons in blood, they were more like candies in a candied hawse. Some members of Yin even cried anxiously, crying and shouting, "Save him!" Kiritani Xanta rushed into the butterfly house as soon as possible. Although the members of Yin hurried past, he still saw the wound of the team member clearly. The middle of the chest was pierced. If it was an inch off, the team member would be dead. Now the only way to save him is his own healing skills. As soon as Kiritani Sento stepped into the butterfly house, a familiar little girl ran out of the ward. She immediately came to the team member, and her white and tender little hands glowed with the same light as Kiritani Sento. While performing the healing technique, Kaoru called out to the team member loudly, "Hold on, you won't die." She came to the butterfly house to help after Kiritani Sento went out on a mission. The sensible Kaoru always wanted to share the burden with her brother, but she had no talent in swordsmanship, so she had to learn medical skills. The swordsmen who treated the injured were also helping her brother in the place that gave her a home. Kiritani Sento was worried and rushed forward immediately, but he was held back by Suzuki Haruko and Kane. Kane whispered, "Kaoru, she finally found her life. You have to make her feel at ease. She can't always be protected by you." Kiritani Sento sighed. He just wanted Kaoru to live a peaceful life. He would leave all the demon slaying and healing to himself. But seeing Kaoru with a serious face, Kiritani Sento was relieved. As long as he was happy, that was enough. "Come on, Kaoru." Kiritani Sento silently said this, but his eyes never left Kaoru for a second. Chapter 39. In a trance, he saw an angel with silver hair and a pair of white wings behind him smiling at him, and the pure and flawless eyes made him feel much more energetic. "Oh my god, angel, I didn't expect to see an angel in this life, he he he." The man had a silly smile on his face, and Suan smiled very brightly. It seems that he should be fine, and he was finally saved. Suan staggered to her feet. It was obvious that the treatment took a lot of energy, but Kiritani Xanta supported her immediately. Kaoru turned his head weakly, with expectation in his eyes, and said in a whisper, "Brother, I'm awesome, right?" Kiritani Sento patted Kaoru's little head gently and said proudly, "Awesome, my Kaoru is the best, I'm proud of you." Kiritani Sento smiled and lowered his head, not to mention how happy he was. "He he he, great, I can help my brother." "Heaven! Angel, can you bandage me?" the team member who was rescued suddenly asked. Kaoru realized that the other party was calling him an angel, and immediately covered his blushing cheeks and whispered, "Sir, this is what a medical staff should do, I'm not an angel." Kiritani Sento clenched his fists and said with a sullen face, "Boy, I'll cut you, she is my sister." The team member was so scared that he almost fainted. He was an angel in the last second and a demon in the next second. Oh my god! The members of Hidden carry him in, and everyone saluted Kaoru, praising loudly, "Thank you, Miss Angel, long live the angel." Kaoru was full of humility, and kept bowing slightly to express his gratitude. Suzuki Haruko suddenly hugged Kaoru from behind, and Kaoru's head was heavy under the pressure of a pair of mountains. "Kaoru, don't be shy, you are my butterfly house's baby, an angel, come on, sister will take you to rest." "Sister Haruko, can I?" Kaoru asked a little unconfidently, and the pitiful little eyes almost melted Suzuki Haruko on the spot. Kiriya Kaoru, Suzuki Haruko, and Kane went to the lounge, and the originally lively courtyard suddenly became deserted, leaving only Kiriya Zanto alone. Kiritani Sento tried to increase his presence and asked, "Sister Haruko, what about me?" Suzuki Haruko turned her head lazily, rolled her eyes at Kiritani Sento, and complained, "You come to my house every day to pick up girls, go wherever you want." Kiritani Sento looked at the other person's disgusted eyes and covered his chest directly. "Oh my god, it hurts my heart, my friend." Since he was here, Kiritani Sento felt that he couldn't come here in vain. Anyway, Santo and Tomioka Jiyu also lived here, so he went to see them. After asking again and again, Kiritani Sento found Jiyu in Santo's ward, and he happily pushed the door open and walked in. He opened his arms and prepared to give the two a bear hug. Jiyu happened to be standing at the door, but he found that it was Kiritani Sento who came in, and returned to the bed with a look of disappointment. Only the lonely old man Kiritani Sento was left standing there in a daze, with 1,000 alpacas flying through his mind. Jiyu's expression changed like musen basking in the sun. Looking at the extremely lost Tomioka Jiyu and the resentful Kiritani Sento, Santo held his stomach and laughed non-stop. It was amazing. "Ha ha 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 ha. I can't stand it, junior brother and Ertu, ha ha ha. Shaha." Santo suddenly groaned in the middle of laughing, and the wound was torn open again. Kiritani Sento. Tomioka Jiyu. Kiritani Sento suddenly rushed towards Santo with a smirk on his face and gave him a hug decisively. Only Santo could understand the sourness. Saha screamed in pain, "I was wrong, I shouldn't have laughed at you." "That's better." Kiritani Sento turned his attention to Tomioka Jiyu, who stood at the door without saying a word. Kiritani Sento didn't care about Jiyu's mysterious operation and simply sat down beside his bed. Satsuki had to shout out loudly despite the pain. He looked proud, like a kid who bought a new Ultraman card. His eyes were filled with the most sincere feelings. "Naito, guess who Jiyu and I beheaded?" Kiritani Sento held his forehead helplessly. The answer was written on his face, it must be the lower string. "Oh! You guessed it right. Jiyu and I beheaded the lower string 3. Isn't that awesome?" Satsuki smiled and stretched out his fist. Kiritani Sento lightly touched it and responded proudly, "I soloed the lower string 6, ha ha ha." Although Satsuki didn't understand what Dan Swipe meant, his good brother was also going to be promoted to a pillar. There was no better news than this. The two of them chatted happily, while Tomioka Jiyu moved a small stool and sat at the door. "Will Jiyu be beaten stupid by the lower string?" Kiritani Sento asked worriedly. Satsuki Rabbit waved his hand to indicate that it was okay, and said mysteriously, that boy should have fallen in love with the medical staff. This shocking news made Kiritani Zanta's head buzz. Medical staff? Sister Haruko? Sister Kane? Or someone else? Tisk tisk tisk. Kiritani Zanta couldn't imagine it. Yiyong knows how to fall in love, and the sow flies to the sky. He would rather believe that the scum boss will commit suicide in the sun tomorrow. But that little girl is really cute, she looks like a doll. Zanta sighed. Kiritani Sento spread his palm helplessly. Is Jiyu sitting there so that he can see her the first time the door is opened? Sento stroked his beardless chin, seemingly thinking seriously, this, I personally feel it is unlikely, can junior brother really think of that level? Jiyu Tomioka, who has always been taciturn, suddenly turned his head and looked at the two of them. He nodded seriously, indicating that it was just as you thought. Oh my god! Tisk tisk tisk, it's incredible! Crack! The door of the ward opened a crack, and Jiyu Tomioka looked at the door with expectation. For some reason, the first sight of the girl reminded him of his sister's gentle appearance. It turns out that there are girls in the world who are as gentle and considerate as his sister, so happy. Poor Jiyu. He has only seen two girls, one is the lively senior sister who pinches his face every day, and the other is Shinobu Koko who is not very familiar with him. Kiritani Sento held his breath, the day of witnessing history has come, who is that lucky girl? So curious. Tomioka Jiyu was like a puppy waiting for his master to get off work, quietly guarding the door. Sister, Jiyu, I'm in love. You don't have to worry about your life anymore, sister. Santo immediately lay down obediently. The girl is cute, but she is also very strict with disobedient patients. Jiyu will definitely be scolded. Forget it, that boy, even his senior brother can't understand him. Chapter 40. Kiritani Sento looked at Tomioka Gyuho viciously. I treat you as a brother, but you want to seduce my sister. Kiritani Sento wanted to chop off this expressionless face. Kiritani Kaoru looked at Tomioka Gyuho who was sitting on a small stool, and then looked at Kiritani Sento who was occupying the bed, and sternly lectured, Mr. Gyuho, you should take good care of your illness. Why are you leaving the bed? And you, brother, how can you occupy the patient's bed? Kiritani Kaoru pouted angrily, but he didn't look angry at all, and he was very cute. How can my sister be so cute, he he he. Kiritani Kaoru pulled up Tomioka Gyuho, dragged him to the edge of the bed, and then pushed Kiritani Sento away. Kiritani Sento's heart was instantly broken. The sister he raised with great effort actually pushed him for an outsider. Woohoo! No love, no love. What bad intentions could a simple Gyuho have? He just wanted to see the girl he liked as soon as possible. Sento felt something was wrong from the beginning, because the girl looked a bit like his brother, but he didn't expect that they were really siblings. Sento was worried for Gyuho. After all, this sister must be someone's favorite. Gyuho will have a hard time. Bang! The door of the ward opened and closed, and Kiritani Sento was locked out. The reason was that the patient needed to rest and could not be disturbed. Alas! Kiritani Sento sighed and went to Shinobu to ask for healing. Now only Shinobu can heal his broken heart. Damn paralyzed face, damn little Gyuho, draw a circle and curse you. A month later, Kyojuro not only achieved the achievement of killing the lower moon 2, Pilang, but also successfully achieved the achievement of killing 50 demons. After more than a year of hard work, Koko Kane also achieved the achievement of killing 50 demons. In this way, the Demon Slayer Corps now has 4 people who have unlocked the title of Pillar. Therefore, Yubayashiki Yoshiya specially convened a meeting of pillars to specifically solve the issue of everyone becoming a pillar. After all, 5 more people can become pillars at once, and the overall strength of the Demon Slayer Corps has been qualitatively improved. Obviously, there were only 3 pillars a year ago. The Lord's residence. Yubayashiki Yoshiya sat quietly on the futon, smiling at the people below. There are only 2 people in the first row, namely Rengoku Makijiro and Suzuki Haruko. One of them is the current flame pillar and the other is the former flower pillar, with the oldest information. Gyumei Satamiya, Tenjin Uzui and Obanai Iguro half knelt in the second row. They are the 3 current pillar-level swordsmen. The last row was filled with 5 newcomers, and a meeting about inheritance began. Everyone, please be more relaxed, don't be so reserved. Yes, my lord. Everyone shouted in unison, but there were some different voices. Boss, how are you? Kiritani Sento smiled and waved. He remembered that it had been 2 months since the last treatment. Yubayashiki Yoya nodded and smiled and replied, thanks to you, I'm in good health. Others were a little confused. What were these 2 people talking about? They were completely on different channels. Yubayashiki Yoya, who was good at observing people's words and expressions, saw everyone's confusion at a glance and quickly explained, everyone knows more or less about Rabbit's abilities. He has been helping me suppress the curse, so my body is not that uncomfortable. Everyone looked at Kiritani Sento in unison, their eyes full of recognition and appreciation. Kiritani Sento pretended to be embarrassed and said, if you guys are watching, I'll be shy, he he he. Kiritani Sento's just right movements and tone made everyone laugh, and the atmosphere on the scene instantly warmed up a lot. After all, the Lord said to be easygoing, but everyone's respect for him was always restrained. Kiritani Sento secretly winked at Yubayashiki Yoya, and Yubayashiki Yoya smiled knowingly. Then today's meeting of the pillars will begin. First, I want to talk about the performance of the newcomers, so that the seniors who have become pillars can listen. Yubayashiki Yoya's magnetic voice sounded, and everyone pricked up their ears. Kiritani Sento beheaded the lower moon 6 in his first mission. Rengoku Kyojuro met both promotion conditions at the same time, beheading 50 demons and the lower moon 2. Kane Koko beheaded 50 demons, worthy of praise. Mr. Urokadaka's 2 apprentices beheaded the lower moon 3. Thank you for your efforts. They are already capable of becoming pillars, what do you think? The other pillars did not speak, after all, the achievement was unquestionable, and the swordsmen who could achieve this achievement there are still some warriors, but unfortunately most of them have died. Yubayashiki Takaya nodded with satisfaction. Since all of them passed, they should get the title. Yubayashiki Takaya looked at Kyojuro, and his voice was very light but very powerful. Kyojuro. Kyojuro was influenced by his father since he was a child, and he absolutely respected his lord. He confidently and loudly responded, "Here. Senior Makijuro is ready to retire to the second line, and you will take over the position of Flame Pillar." Although Makijuro is only in his 30s and in his prime, Yubayashiki Takaya respects everyone's wishes, especially the seniors who have worked hard all their lives. Kyojuro looked at his father in surprise. He didn't expect his father to retire to the second line, but it was also true that his father should accompany his mother. "Kyojuro, go ahead and do it boldly, I will always support you." Makijuro's eyes were full of recognition. He couldn't be more satisfied with his son and apprentice. Yubayashiki Yoya turned his head and looked at Butterfly Kane again. "Kane, you will take over Reiko's position as the Flower Pillar." "Congratulations." Kane said softly, "Yes. Kane must work hard." After the Flame Pillar and the Flower Pillar were confirmed, Yubayashiki Yoya was in trouble. Mr. Urokadaka's two apprentices were both excellent. It was said that they had both realized their own sword skills, but there was only one position for the Water Pillar. "My lord, let my senior brother be the Water Pillar. I am different from them." As soon as Jiyu said this, everyone looked at Tomioka Jiyu. Iguro Obanai pursed his lips and said unhappily, "Hey! You are so arrogant. What do you mean different from us? Ha! You are young and frivolous, Amitabha." Tomioka Jiyu did not refute anything. After all, he knew that he was not worthy of the position of Water Pillar compared to the people present. When beheading the lower string, his senior brother made the greatest effort. Kiritani Sento held his forehead helplessly. Only he and Sento could understand what this guy was saying. So, the rescue expert rabbit came to the rescue. Boss. I have a suggestion." Chapter 41. Kiritani Sento said, "Since there are two geniuses, why can't you innovate, set up a double pillar system, and set up two water pillars?" Yubayashiki Yoya looked as if he had suddenly realized that this could be done. He had never thought of it. After all, the Demon Slayer Corps had not had so many pillar-level swordsmen at once for a long time. Tomioka Jiyu glanced at Kiritani Sento, but Rabbit predicted Jiyu's move and covered his mouth directly. "It is better to talk less with this hateful mouth. I think Rabbit's suggestion is feasible. After all, for thousands of years, the Demon Slayer Corps has also been progressing with the progress of the times." Iguro Obanai, who had been stroking Kabuki Maru, glanced at Tomioka Jiyu and then at the Lord, his expression constantly switching between displeasure and respect. "This guy is really annoying. My lord, I want to compete with him." Iguro Obanai pointed at Tomioka Jiyu. Tomioka Jiyu didn't say anything and had half of his sword out, and it looked like the fight was about to begin. "Humph! Do you deserve the title of a pillar?" Tomioka Jiyu broke free from his restraints and replied expressionlessly, "I really don't deserve it." Iguro Obanai was ready to rant, but Jiyu's sincere eyes silenced him instantly. "You! Forget it, I don't mind." Kirigaya Sento immediately pushed Tomioka Jiyu's sword back. As expected, sincerity is the real killer move. The matter of the double water pillars was settled, and the only thing missing was the title of Kirigaya Sento. He has now learned 3 breathing methods, namely the breathing of fire, the breathing of flowers, and the breathing of wind. Kirigaya Sento quickly became the focus. If there is anything special about him, it seems that only his eyes are special. Kiritani said mysteriously, "I've already thought of my title. Wind Pillar. Why not just double the Flame Pillar? Personally, I suggest calling him the Cheap Pillar. This is up to you, Amitabha." Kiritani rolled his eyes at Iguro Obanai, "What's the cheesy about that? Do you think I'm that bad?" Iguro Obanai also rolled his eyes at Kiritani, "What are you looking at, Color Pillar?" Kiritani. Yubayashiki Koya said with a smile, "What title does Rabbit want?" Kiritani placed his right hand across his chest and bowed very gentlemanly, and then a steady and powerful voice sounded. "Hello everyone, I'm the Demon Slayer Corps Pupil Pillar. How is it?" "Sure enough, it's related to the eyes, Shinobu guessed right." Kane replied. The others nodded, agreeing with Kiritani's idea. His eyes were the most special thing about him. Yubayashiki Yoya took a deep breath and looked at everyone. "Everyone, congratulations to our Demon Slayer Corps for having 8 pillar-level swordsmen." Yubayashiki Yoya took out a wooden tray from behind as soon as he finished speaking. The vigorous wisteria vines stretched their waists in the tray. Suzuki Haruko took the wooden tray. She and Makijiro stood in front of everyone with smiles on their faces. Everyone present was their cute juniors. Makijiro's loud voice inspired people, "Everyone, we are the only two seniors. Before I retreat to the second line, I hope to send my blessings to everyone. I wish you all good luck in martial arts." Suzuki Haruko had a playful smile on her face, and her ink-stained hair moved with the wind. "Choto will always be your most steadfast backing. Remember to call me Sister Haruko." One of them carried a tray and the other handed out wisteria branches. This was the expectation and blessing of the seniors to the juniors. A cool breeze blew by, gently caressing the wisteria tree in the yard. The oval green leaves made a pleasant sound, and the wisteria flowers clustered together, like stars blooming in the night sky. The wisteria flowers guarded the growth of the Demon Slayer Corps, and the Demon Slayer Corps also witnessed the flowers blooming. The pillar-level swordsmen are the pillars supporting the Demon Slayer Corps. They are the highest-ranking swordsmen. Unlike ordinary members of the Demon Slayer Corps, the pillars with powerful abilities are tacitly allowed to wear their own private clothes according to their personal preferences. Their Nichiren swords are also forged with the best skills, and the words Evil Demon Slayer are engraved near the hilt. In a blink of an eye, Kiritani Battle Rabbit has become a pillar for a year. When he is not on a mission, he has been looking for where Tanjiro's house is. But it is really difficult to rely on vague memories. After searching for a year, there is nothing to gain. He really wants to save Tanjiro's family. The bright moon shines in the sky, and a figure flashes by. It is Kiritani Battle Rabbit who is chasing the demon. Kiritani Sento is still wearing the black Demon Slayer Corps uniform, but the word is embroidered on the collar. He didn't wear a haori, but a black windbreaker with a small silver eye pattern on it, which is in line with the title of Pupil Pillar. Kiritani Sento's sword is still forged by Hotaru Tetsutsuzuka. Since the sword was not broken last time, Hotaru Tetsutsuzuka doesn't hate Kiritani Sento that much. The overall shape of the sword guard is a black vertical pupil, but it is engraved with a silver crescent. After all, it is completely forged according to Kiritani Sento's eyes. Evil Ghost is written on the right side of the blade, and Destroy is written on the left side. This is the long-cherished wish of every member of the Demon Slayer Corps. Kiritani Sento looked forward, his eyes firm, and said with a smile, "Mr. Ghost, I'll just chop your neck, okay? I have thin blood, super delicious." The ghost cursed, "You are sick, you pillar, gosh, thin blood is amazing." The evil ghost sighed, this abominable pillar couldn't even hold the knife at the beginning, and deliberately exposed thin blood, and ended up cutting off his limbs with his backhand. "If I can't beat you, I will definitely kill you." The evil ghost was so angry that his teeth itched. After all, for it was like being hit twice in the mouth by a steak but you couldn't eat it, which was even more uncomfortable than being cheated. Isn't this pure bullying of ghosts? Come on! Come on! I'm standing here, bite me, Leel Leel. Ah! I can't stand it, I'm going to kill you. The evil ghost, who had been moving at a high speed, suddenly turned around and rushed towards Kiritani Sento like crazy. "You're not going to die today." Before the ghost finished his words, Kiritani Sento had already put away his knife. He patted the dust off his uniform and complained, "Work done, call it a day." The evil ghost looked at Kiritani Sento in confusion and raised his arm tremblingly. He didn't see the other parties move until he died. "I'm not willing to be killed by a bitch." Kiritani Sento turned around with an unhappy look on his face, frowning, "What do you mean, how am I a bitch? This is called humor, do you understand humor?" Chapter 42. In the old long street of the city, mice made rustling sounds, and a white-haired boy with a hedgehog head kept looking at the door, his eyes full of worry. The boy was Fushigawa Shima, the future wind pillar. Fushigawa Shima was born in an ordinary city family with 7 brothers and sisters. He was the eldest in the family and grew up under the beating of his father. After his wicked father was stabbed to death by his enemies, Shima and his eldest brother Fushigawa Jinya agreed to protect their mother and younger brothers and sisters together. Fushigawa Shima suddenly felt someone pulling him, and turned around to find that it was his sleepy brother. Shimai gently touched Fushigawa Swanya's head and whispered, "It's okay, I'm watching, Swanya, go to bed." Fushigawa Swanya raised his head and said very sensibly, "Brother, aren't you sleepy?" Fushigawa Shimai took his brother back to bed and told him, "Have a good rest, I'll go find mom." After settling his brother down, Fushigawara Shimai locked the door and walked into the dark alley. The moon shyly hid in the dark clouds, and the cold wind occasionally passed through the dim alley, making the Fushigawara family creak. The moon hid again as if hiding from a monster. Suddenly, a pair of scarlet eyes lit up, and long black hair dragged on the ground. Its target was the Fushigawara family. 1 step, 2 steps. The evil ghost was like a hungry beast, constantly growling, and saliva flowed down its hair to the ground. The evil ghost came to the door of the house of Busukawa. It chose this place among thousands of houses. The evil ghost rushed in like a train. The locked door was as fragile as tofu and was completely overturned. No one who slept against the door was spared. Xianmi was even blown away by the terrifying force and fell heavily on the wall. The broken wooden door fragments were like a sharp scimitar, slashing along Xianmi's cheek, but the impact made him lose the opportunity to make a sound, and only the piercing pain was engraved in his heart. Looking at his bloody brothers and sisters, Xianmi felt that countless sharp thorns were pierced into his heart. He trembled and stretched out his hands to try to protect them. But his broken body could not support his actions. Busukawa Xianmi fainted in a pool of blood with despair and fear in his eyes. Brother! Brother, I'm sorry! In an instant, a happy family became fragmented, and 5 of the 7 brothers and sisters disappeared. The evil ghost let out an excited roar, and the hair dragging on the ground had long been dyed red. It stepped on the blood and walked towards Fusugawa Swanya step by step. It seemed that the prey that was still alive was the most perfect. Just when the evil ghost was about to pierce Fusugawa Swanya's head, Fusugawa Shiyu rushed back. He had just walked a short distance when he heard a noise in the direction of his home. Fusugawa Shiyu, who felt something was wrong, immediately returned the same way. Facing the bodies of his brothers and sisters, Fusugawa Shiyu's eyes instantly turned red. He felt as if his brain was eaten by something, and it was blank. Extreme sadness made him tremble all over, and all fear was occupied by anger. The furious Fusugawa Shiyu picked up the table beside him and smashed it at the evil ghost. He didn't care what kind of monster this was. Now he just wanted revenge and wanted to kill this guy. The table was broken into pieces, and the evil ghost and Fusugawa Shiyu were bounced out at the same time. However, although Fusugawa Shiyu's rage value was full, he did no damage at all. Fushigawara Shimai trembled as he picked up Xianmi, with big tears falling one by one. He blamed himself to the extreme. Why did you go out? Why did you leave home? Why didn't you die yourself? Why? Cough cough cough. Xianmi's sudden cough made Fushigawara Shimai completely stunned. The greatest blessing in life is to regain what you have lost, even if he lost too much today. Fushigawara Shimai gently put his brother down, rushed into the kitchen and took a kitchen knife. His eyes were red, like a mad wild dog, and he would not stop until he bit his prey to death. I'll kill you, monster! Fushigawara Shimai swung a knife and instantly entangled with the monster. Because he had to support the family with his mother, he often went out to work as a laborer, and his strength even exceeded that of an adult. The kitchen knife slit a hole in the evil ghost's chest, and it made a harsh roar and grabbed Fushigawara Shimai without hesitation. In a flash, 3 bloody wounds appeared on Fusugawa Shiyu's chest, and he didn't even react to the opponent's attack. The evil ghost greedily sucked the blood left on her fingers, she let out a joyful roar, and walked towards Fusugawa Shiyu without looking back. It was like a greedy person meeting 100 million taels of gold. Rare blood is like this to ghosts. Attractive. Fushigawara Shimizu didn't even feel the pain, he picked up the kitchen knife and got ready to kill the other party. It's just that the evil ghost's steps were swaying, as if he was drunk. Fushigawara Shimizu's thin blood was like intoxicating wine for ordinary ghosts. Especially for a person who had just been transformed, just the smell in the air was enough to make him drunk. Of course, Fushigawara Shimizu didn't understand what happened, he just knew that this monster became easier to deal with. Because of the help of his own thin blood, Fushigawara Shimizu could keep up with the speed of the ghost. He felt guilty and didn't know how to face his mother and his dead brothers and sisters. The sharp claws collided with the kitchen knife, sparks flew, and the kitchen knife had several more cuts, and Fushigawara Shimizu's tiger mouth hurt. But he seemed to have lost consciousness, attacking the evil ghost with injuries in exchange for injuries, with the momentum of either you die or I live. A strong wind blew in the narrow box, and the wind lifted the long hair of the evil ghost, revealing the appearance of the evil ghost. The moment he saw the appearance of the evil ghost, Fushigawara Shiyu was completely stunned, his body seemed to freeze, and he stood there motionless. Because that face was none other than his beloved mother, that gentle mother. Fushigi Shiya was dumbfounded. It was his mother who killed his younger brother and sister. Should he kill his mother? Why? Why did God do this to me? Fushigi Shiya's eyes lost their light, and he felt that no matter what he did, it was wrong. Ah! Why? The sad voice rushed straight to the sky, and the dark clouds seemed to be shattered. However, when people step into the ghost, they are no longer people. They will kill their loved ones at the first time. As for the bad taste of the trash boss, it can only be said to be very disgusting. The evil ghost had no affection in his eyes, only delicious blood and food. He pounced on Fushigi Shiya like a hungry tiger, and opened his bloody mouth to bite his son. Fushigi Shiya did not resist at all. Maybe he should not exist in the world. It's good like this. Chapter 43. Perhaps the maternal instinct deep in her heart overcame her desire. After all, Fushigi Shiya's mother had only been transformed for 10 minutes. Fushigi Shiya's mother uttered a few words with difficulty. Kill me. Mom. Mom. Love. Before she finished her words, Fushigi Shiya's mother's eyes turned red again. The demon's wildness completely wiped out human emotions, and now there was only killing in its eyes. Brother. Brother. Fushigi Swanya stood at the door without knowing when. He gasped for breath, like a terminally ill patient who would fall down at any time. Brother, don't die. Fushigi Swanya used up his last strength and fainted after shouting. As if a miracle had happened, he stood up when his brother needed him most, and walked to the door again in a daze. Ah! Fuzukawa Shimai screamed in pain, but he was no longer angry. On one side was his mother and on the other was his brother. What should he do? After a moment of hesitation, Fuzukawa Shimai clenched the kitchen knife in his hand, and then swung it hard, leaving a deep cut on the ghost's body. Fuzukawa Shimai stuffed the blood flowing out of his hand into the evil ghost's mouth. A large amount of blood entered, and the evil ghost collapsed instantly. Fuzukawa Shimai took the opportunity to insert the kitchen knife into the ghost's heart. The moment the knife was inserted, his heart also broke. In the past, no matter how that bastard father beat him, he never cried once, but tonight, in less than half an hour, Fuzukawa Shimai had cried twice. Fuzukawa Shimai pulled out the kitchen knife, kicked down his mother who had turned into a cannibal evil ghost, and he fell down with her. His vision had begun to blur, and the evil ghost, who felt that he could not beat him, turned and ran towards Fuzukawa Swanya. One man and one ghost, both like cripples, moved their bodies little by little. Xianmi, run! Stand up! Fuzukawa Shimizu desperately shouted his brother's name, but it was completely useless. In a hurry, Fuzukawa Shimizu threw the menu out. The kitchen knife accurately chopped into its back, and the evil ghost and Fuzukawa Shimizu fell to the ground together. Fuzukawa Shimizu supported the ground with his hands and crawled forward little by little. After a few strokes, his fingers were worn out, and the piercing pain kept piercing his nerves. 10 fingers connected to the heart, the pain doubled. Sweat mixed with blood soaked Fuzukawa Shimizu's clothes. He was like a red crayon, drawing a long line on the cold ground. The recovery ability of ghosts is much stronger than that of humans. After a while, the evil ghost stood up. It planned to eat something to restore its strength first, so that it could eat thin blood. Fushigi Shimai gritted his teeth, his face grim, and begged, "Stop, Mom. That's Xianmi." Anxious Fushigi Shimai struggled to stand up, but fell down again after taking 2 steps. But at the last moment, Fushigi Shimai threw the evil ghost to the ground, and the two rolled to the side. He held a kitchen knife and attacked the ghost indiscriminately. Every time he cut, Fushigi Shimai's heart skipped a beat, and his tears flowed like they were worthless, and more than 10 years of tears gathered together. After fighting for several hours, the evil ghost completely lost its ability to move. Fushigi Shimai knelt there blankly, with red and swollen eyes. He blamed himself so much that he kept repeating, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will definitely kill the guy behind the scenes, no matter where he is." Fushigi Shimai kowtowed one after another, and his forehead had already become bloody. He knew very well that his mother must have been related to someone who turned into such a monster. He vowed to make that someone die a miserable death, and he would kill it with his own hands. The whistling sound of the wind gradually weakened, and Fuzukawa Shimai knelt quietly in front of his mother, forgetting the time and the cold. The first ray of sunlight in the morning passed through the layers of dark clouds and enveloped the earth again, but it was a pity that the warm sunlight could not dispel the tragedy in the world. At this moment, Fuzugawa Swanya suddenly woke up, but the scene in front of him made his young heart suffer a million critical strikes. The mother covered in blood was lying in a pool of blood, and his own brother was holding a bloody kitchen knife. Impossible, this is impossible. Fake, all fake. This must be a dream, a nightmare. Swanya kept brainwashing himself in his heart. He twisted himself suddenly, and the stinging feeling was like a hammer, shattering the fantasy and shattering his heart. Fuzugawa Jinya's eyes were full of hatred. He pointed at Fuzugawa Shima and cursed, "Murderer! You murderer! I hate you!" Ah! No, Swanya Shigawa wanted to take revenge, but his legs softened and he fell down. Shigawa Fushigawara was stunned for a long time, his chest ached, and then a mouthful of blood spurted out. He didn't want to explain anything, but just stood up tremblingly, and then walked into the depths of the alley amid the abuse of his brother. As the sun completely covered the earth, Swanya Shigawa was surprised to see his mother's body turned into ashes. The blood-stained ground seemed to have nothing happened. When the sun appeared, everything disappeared. The sun also shone into the dark alley. The moment the sunlight flashed over the kitchen knife, the originally red kitchen knife instantly returned to its original state. All traces of the ghost were wiped out. Shigawa Fushigawara looked at the kitchen knife that had returned to its original state and then looked at his hand. "Murderer! You are a murderer! Ha ha ha!" Fushigawara laughed and burst into tears, but he regained his calm in an instant. Fushigawara Shimai took the kitchen knife and pointed it at his neck. It was very simple. With just a slight stroke, he could say goodbye to this world. However, the kitchen knife did not cut Fushigawara Shimai's neck. He could not die. He still wanted revenge. It didn't matter if his brother hated him. Soon, Fushigawara Shimai disappeared at the end of the alley, and with him disappeared the bloodless kitchen knife and the hatred that was suppressed to the extreme. Fushigawara Swanya cried until his voice was hoarse. In just one night, he experienced things that others would never experience in several lifetimes. He now wanted to confront his eldest brother face to face to understand what happened. "Brother, don't go!" Fushigawara Swanya fainted from exhaustion, his hand still pointing in the direction where his eldest brother and mother disappeared. Even in this new era, the law is still imperfect. It was not until the afternoon that the police blocked the scene. 5 people died suddenly in one night and 2 people were missing. The police were completely confused. In their eyes, this was no different from an unsolved case. After all, wild beasts often invaded the edge of the city. Taromaru flew over the crowd and the police who were maintaining public order and found a child with a coxcomb hairstyle lying on the ground. After confirming it, Taromaru immediately left the scene. Chapter 44. From a human perspective, looking for a person is like looking for a needle in a haystack, but with a flying crow, it's different. Kiritani Sento only needs to tell Taromaru the characteristics of the person he wants to find. Coxcomb, it's a coxcomb. Taromaru loudly broadcast the target person he saw. Kiritani Sento showed a happy smile. The coxcomb is Fuzugawa Jinya, so Fuzugawa Sanya should be there too. I hope everything is in time. Kiritani Sento fed Taromaru a hawthorn as a reward, and Taromaru immediately flew up to lead the way. A few minutes later, Kiritani Sento arrived at Fuzugawa's house, and the noisy crowd made his heart tremble. Damn it! It's too late. Kiritani Sento squeezed in and saw Fuzugawa Jinya with lifeless eyes at first sight. Kiritani Sento immediately rushed into the blockade. When the police just reacted, he had already hugged Fushigawara Jinya. Fushigawara Jinya did not resist at all, or he had no strength to resist, but what made him very strange was that this stranger who suddenly appeared kept saying "I'm sorry" and almost cried. The police arrived late, and Kiritani Sento smiled and turned around to give some money to the leading policeman. "Uncle Police, I am a friend of Fuzugawa Shimizu, I must help investigate." The police captain quietly put away the money, not caring whether Kiritani Sento was a stranger or not, and patted Kiritani Sento on the shoulder with a sad face. "Young man, I am in deep sorrow. We will definitely investigate to the end." Kiritani Sento pointed at Fuzugawa Jinya behind him and said slowly, "I think my friend needs some quiet time." The police immediately dispersed the crowd, and Kiritani Sento came to Fuzugawa Jinya and said softly, "My name is Kiritani Sento, and I am your brother's friend." Fuzugawa Jinya suddenly grabbed Kiritani Sento by the collar and roared, where is the murderer? Kiritani Sento sighed, not knowing what to say. He knew that there was a misunderstanding between the Fuzugawa brothers, and now only by letting Jinya see the ghost with his own eyes can the misunderstanding in his heart be resolved. I can tell you with certainty and confidence that your brother is not a murderer. I will pay for your family's funeral. Fuzugawa Swanya suddenly realized that this person was helping him and that he had gone too far. Fuzugawa Swanya, who realized the problem, immediately let go of Kiritani Sento and apologized, I'm sorry, I was abrupt. Kiritani Sento knew that children from poor families had to take care of the family early, after all, he was one too, but this child was too strong, didn't he cry? You have no reason to help me. Kiritani Sento patted Fuzugawa Swanya on the shoulder and said with a smile, I'm your eldest brother's friend, it's my duty. Fuzugawa Swanya didn't understand. This person didn't look even older than his brother, so where did he get so much money? But then, Kiritani Sento's actions scared Fuzugawa Swanya so much that he almost had a heart attack, because the amount of money he took out was so terrifying. I'll take these with me this time, it should be enough. The deceased has passed away, rest in peace. Please accept my condolences. Hey! The police left after a simple investigation. If it weren't for the money given by Kiritani Sento, they wouldn't care about the people in Jukang Street. Who knows how many people will die in this lawless place in a day. After the police left, Fushigawara Jinya immediately knelt down and kowtowed to Kiritani Sento. Thank you. I will definitely pay you back later. Kiritani Sento hurriedly helped him up, but it was too heavy. It's okay, it's okay. Go do what you should do. Just as Fushigawara Jinya was about to leave, Kiritani Sento pulled him back and used healing magic to heal his wounds before letting him leave. Fushigawara Jinya thought he had met a god. The white light was so strange. But he knew it was someone else's private matter. Although he didn't know where his brother got such a friend, he would definitely repay him in the future. It was not until the evening that Fuzugawa Genmaya buried the bodies of his relatives, and of course his mother's clothes. He returned to his dilapidated home with a tired body. All the past events seemed to be just yesterday. Fuzugawa Genmaya fell asleep from exhaustion. In the dead of night, Kiritani Sento lay on the roof, his eyes full of sadness and self-blame. It's too late after all. Alas! The bright moonlight was like a cold ice thorn, deeply piercing Kiritani Sento's heart. Damn Muzan Kibutsuji, if it weren't for you, the Fuzugawa family would definitely live happily together, Kiritani Sento cursed in his heart. His hatred for the scum boss, unlike others, he saw many murders with his own eyes, such as Yakasai Hinari and the Bizikawa brothers. In the alley far away, Bizikawa-san watched his brother and the guy who claimed to be his friend from a distance in the corner. Bizikawa-san whispered, I will never forget this favor, a friend I have never met. Oh! Now we have met. Kiritani Sento suddenly appeared from behind Bizikawa-san, and Bizikawa-san subconsciously raised the kitchen knife in his hand. That was the fear from biological instinct. This guy was very strong, so strong that he could not breathe. That's a bit sudden. But my name is Kiritani Sento, you can call me Rabbit, let me emphasize that I'm a good person. Looking at Fushigawara Shia still holding the kitchen knife tightly, Kiritani Sento said weakly. Really a good person. Kiritani Sento extended his hand in a friendly manner, after all, it was too suspicious to appear suddenly. Fushigawara Shia's hand stopped in mid-air, he felt that he was not worthy of the other party, if he had that strength, maybe his mother. But Kiritani Sento suddenly hugged Fushigawara Shia, he said distressedly, it's not your fault, it's all the fault of the scum boss. Fushigawara Shia was stunned, so warm, this person's embrace was like the sun, shining warmly on people. But Fushigawara Shia immediately pushed Kiritani Sento away, he disappeared in the alley at the speed of light. Kiritani Sento wanted to explain something but couldn't say it, because there was no chance, he didn't expect Shia to run away suddenly. Keep the money for yourself. I'll take care of your brother. Don't give up, we'll meet again. Kiritani Sento wanted to bring Fushigawara Shima directly to the Demon Slayer Corps, but he has his own life. He is the future wind pillar and he will become stronger. And with Fushigawara Shima's personality, he will definitely leave without saying goodbye. Kiritani Sento bowed deeply in the direction of Fushigawara Shima and said apologetically, I'm sorry, we'll meet again if we're lucky. Fushigawara Shima tightly grasped the purse in his hand. He didn't know when the other party put it in. He didn't understand why he was so good to him. But I can give you Fushigawashima's Shima's life. Chapter 45. His physique was special, and his physical strength had to keep up. As for physical training, the strongest person in the entire Demon Slayer Corps was the rock pillar, Gyume Satome Saka. On the way, Fuzugawa Jinya said nothing. This world was completely different from what he thought. What man-eating evil ghost? What Demon Slayer Corps? But he saw his mother turned into ashes under the sun with his own eyes. What Brother Sento said was right. Brother Sento, are there really such monsters in this world? Kiritani Sento smiled slightly. It seemed that Jinya listened to what he said today. He didn't look so irritable but very sensible. Maybe it was because he saved him this time. Fuzugawa Jinya didn't have to make a living anymore and could have a peaceful childhood. After all, according to the normal plot, Fushigawara Shimizu left his brother, and Swanya had to build a shell to protect himself in order to survive, to cover up his vulnerable side. Kiritani Sento answered seriously, I guarantee it with my personality, but seeing is believing, I will let you see it with your own eyes. Fushigawara Shimizu hit his head in the back of Kiritani Sento. If what his elder brother said was right, wouldn't he hurt his brother's heart? He said such excessive words, his elder brother would definitely not forgive him. Thinking of this, Fushigawara Shimizu sighed. When they were walking to a forest, there was a sound of fighting next to them, which made Kiritani Sento feel very strange. At this point, there was still a fight, most likely between the demon slayers and the evil spirits. Kiritani Sento immediately changed direction. He wanted Fushigawara Shimizu to learn from Gyume of Sadness Island, but the other party hated children. In addition, Swanya has no talent in breathing techniques, so it is impossible for Brother Singming to agree. However, if he knew Swanya's talent, the result would be very different. Kiritani Sento put Swanya down and gently pulled aside the grass. An extremely comfortable scene came into view, and the evil spirit was pressed to the ground and beaten. The attacker was Gyume of Biming Island. Because of Kiritani Sento's suggestion, as long as the evil spirits are less than 30 kilometers away from the headquarters, they must be eliminated. This is also to prevent the location of the headquarters from being exposed. Although 30 kilometers takes several hours for ordinary people to walk, it is not a problem for the Demon Slayer Corps and the evil spirits. In addition, with the assistance of the crow, it is still very simple to check the dangers outside the headquarters. Because there are enough pillars, Gyume of Biming Island is responsible for staying at the headquarters. In addition to killing the 12 demon moons, the rock pillar, one of the strongest members of the Demon Slayer Corps, will not be sent out to perform tasks. Of course, the retired Makijiro is also responsible for this work. After all, his strength is still very strong, and he is not currently serving as a trainer. Kiritani Sento became the pupil pillar, and many of his suggestions could be implemented, and guarding the headquarters was one of them. Of course, this was just one of Kiritani Sento's many plans. After all, there would be more and more pillars in the future. When Gyume Hiei swung the meteor hammer, he would behead the evil ghost the next moment. The ghost was already confused, and he could meet the pillar just by walking on the road. The probability of this is much smaller than the probability of winning 100 million in the lottery. However, Kiritani Sento blocked the meteor hammer before it came down. Not only the ghost was confused, but Gyume Hiei was also confused. If he hadn't been sensible enough, Gyume Hiei would have chopped him with the broad axe. Of course, Kiritani Sento is also one of the few people who have gained Gyume Hiei's trust. The silly ghost simply laughed, ha ha ha, is the Demon Slayer Corps just this? They are fighting among themselves, rubbish, ha ha ha. Little ghost, help me kill this bald ass. Kiritani Sento's face turned pale, this ghost is so annoying. Without any hesitation, Kiritani Sento stabbed the Nichiren sword into the heart of the ghost. You think too much, where are you from? After teaching the evil ghost a lesson, Kiritani Sento turned around and smiled at Gyume of Bimei Island, Gyume, let me teach the kid. After that, Kiritani Sento waved to the opposite side, signaling Fushigawara Jinya to come over. Looking at the boy walking out of the bushes, the usually taciturn Biminjaihu Singming complained, Yu Yanzi lineage is really the same lineage, kidnapping children every day. Ahem. Swanya, it's just a coincidence, I'm not a bad person. Kiritani Sento motioned Fuzugawa Swanya to come closer. Although Swanya is only 9 years old now, he will have to face evil spirits sooner or later. The sooner he dies, the sooner he will be reborn. Fuzugawa Swanya looked at the grinning, livid monster under Kiritani Sento's butt, and a chill rose. This is different from facing a ghost. When I saw my transformed mother, I felt like I was falling into an ice cellar. Don't be afraid, young man. It can't hurt you with us here. Amitabha. Xianmi, this is a ghost, a man-eating evil ghost. Kiritani Xantu pointed at the evil ghost under his buttocks and said. It's different to have test materials. It's much clearer than saying it. They are the cannibal ghosts that have been legendary since ancient times. They are transformed from human bodies after receiving the blood of the Ghost King. They have strong regenerative ability, high physical ability, and the ability to mimic and change their bodies. They feed on humans and become more violent when hungry. The more people they eat, the stronger they are. Some of the stronger ghosts even have the ability of blood ghost art. But they also have fatal weaknesses, which are sunlight and the sun wheel sword. Ghosts exposed to sunlight or having their necks cut by the sun wheel sword will turn into dust and disappear. They hate wisteria flowers very much. They will be trapped by the barrier of wisteria flowers and will also be poisoned by the poison of wisteria flowers. Fuzugawa Swanya nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. He didn't expect that the horror story told by his mother was true and ghosts really existed. With the blessing of anger, Fuzugawa Swanya directly punched the evil ghost. It was the ghost that made him lose his home, it was the ghost that made him misunderstand his brother, and it was because of the ghost that his mother died. Damn it! Fushigawara Swanya angrily punched and kicked the evil ghost. Baimanjaihu Xingming looked up to the child. Ordinary people might be too scared to move when seeing a ghost, but he could attack the other party. So Baimanjaihu Xingming tried to feel the fighting spirit in Fushigawara Swanya's body. Ordinary people don't have fighting spirit. People who can only practice breathing methods must have this talent. And people like them who have practiced breathing methods for a long time can feel whether a person can practice fighting spirit. After a while, Baimanjaihu Xingming shook his head helplessly. This also means that the child in front of him can't practice breathing methods, so he has lost the pass to kill ghosts. Courage alone is not enough. Chapter 46. The demon turned his head around, stared at Kiritani Sento with wide eyes, and shouted, "You can kill me or cut me up, damn human, don't insult my dignity." Kiritani Sento ignored the demon under his butt, but looked at Fushigawara Jinya and said, "Do you understand? This is what you want to deal with. Once you step on this road, your life will be taken away at any time." Kiritani Sento looked at Fushigawara Jinya quietly. At this moment, he looked like Jiyu at ordinary times. He respected the other party's choice to live as an ordinary person or as a swordsman. A determined light flashed on Fushigawara Swanya's tender face, and he said fiercely, "I want revenge, I want to kill all the evil spirits in the world. Brother Xantu, please teach me." Kiritani Xantu shook his head, and Fushigawara Swanya's eyes instantly lost their light, frightening Kiritani Xantu to explain, "No, I mean I am not suitable to teach you, your master is far away and close at hand. Do you understand?" As soon as Kiritani Xantu finished speaking, Fushigawara Swanya looked at Baimanjaihu Xingming. After all, there was no one else around. Looking at the other's strong muscles, Fushigawara Swanya swallowed hard. Is this really something that humans can practice? Fushigawara Swanya bowed immediately. He was a little nervous. "Can you accept me as your apprentice?" "Uncle." Puff. Kiritani Xantu spit out the sugar water he had just drunk. "Brother Xingming is only 20 this year, okay, it's a bit too much to call him uncle." Baimanjaihu Xingmei had no dissatisfaction at all, because he didn't care what others thought of him, especially a child. Although he didn't want to hit the boy in front of him, he still had to face the facts. "Boy, you don't have the talent to be a swordsman, I'm sorry, Amitabha." As he spoke, 2 lines of tears flowed down. He liked the boy's courage but didn't want him to die. At the moment when Fushigawara Swanya lost hope, Kiritani Xantu stood up and said mysteriously, "I wonder if you two have heard of the Devil Eater." Kiritani Xantu's words even aroused Baimanjaihu Xingmei's interest. "There has always been ghosts eat people, people kill ghosts, where is the Devil Eater?" Fushigawara Swanya smiled again. Brother Xantu's standing up at this time must mean that he has a way. Kiritani Sento cleared his throat and said slowly, "It is said that during the Warring States period, there was a special kind of demon-hunting swordsman. They did not know any breathing techniques, but their strength was no less than any pillar-level swordsman. People call them demon eaters, and they can be said to be a group of people who subvert the 3 views of evil demons. They have excellent bite force and digestive organs, and can eat demons to obtain a special physique of short-term demonization. At the same time, the stronger the demon they eat, the stronger the regeneration ability and power of the demon they obtain will be. Bai Minjiahu Xingmei did not question it, because he seemed to have seen this name on the remaining pages of the secret history of the Demon Slayer Corps, but because of disrepair, the specific content has disappeared. He knew that Rabbit would not tell this story for no reason, and soon Bai Minjiahu Xingmei reacted. He and Kiritani Sento looked at Fushigawara Suanya at the same time. Fushigawara Suanya looked at the two of them blankly. What did Brother Sento say? Didn't he say that demons eat people? Could it be that I have that special physique, and I want to eat ghosts? Rabbit, are you sure this boy is it? Kiritani Sento nodded and gave a thumbs up to Fushigawara Jinya. This boy is just like you think. Kiritani Sento cut the ghost's wrist with a knife, and took a handful of blood. After a while, the blood flowed out through his fingers. Kiritani Sento quickly came to Fushigawara Jinya, pressed his shoulders, and asked in a slightly second-year tone. Young man, do you crave power? Drink it. Tick. Tick. Drop by drop, the dark red blood fell to the ground, like an arrow piercing Fushigawara Jinya's heart. A fishy smell rushed straight to the brain through the nostrils, and Fushigawara Jinya swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He was mentally resistant to this thing and felt sick unconsciously. But the scenes from a few days ago echoed in his mind like a movie. After a fierce inner struggle, Fushigawara Suanya nodded, and then he opened his mouth. Kiritani Sento put the few drops of blood in his hand into Fushigawara Suanya's mouth. I have to say that Muzan said it was good. Who is the ghost king between us? As soon as the blood entered Fushigawara Suanya's stomach, he felt his whole body getting hot, and the irritability from his heart kept hitting his brain. Soon Fushigawara Suanya has grown taller, his nails have become as sharp as a demon's, and his two sharp teeth are particularly obvious. A warm current keeps washing over Fushigawara Suanya's body, and he feels like he can kill a cow with one punch. Bai Minjiahu Xingming didn't even notice that he had clenched his weapon tightly, and it felt like he had witnessed a human being transformed into an evil demon with his own eyes. But he couldn't feel the breath of evil on the boy, just that his strength had become stronger. Kiritani Xantu thought that the first transformation would be very painful, but he didn't expect it to be like that. Suanya, is there anything uncomfortable? Fushigawara Suanya was excited, and he could no longer suppress his joy, and said happily, Brother Xantu, I feel good, it's amazing. Having the appearance of a demon but the rationality of a human, this is a demon eater. Boy, I apologize for what I said just now, your talent is even better than mine, Amitabha. Bai Minjiahu Xingming apologized sincerely. He didn't expect that the rabbit would find a treasure when he went out. No wonder he wanted the boy to worship him as his master. If his physical fitness is strong enough, he might be able to obtain the power of the 12 demon moons, which is equivalent to adding another pillar to the Demon Slayer Corps. Kiritani Sento glanced at the ghost on the ground and then at Fushigawara Suanya. After thinking for a while, he gave up the idea of actual combat. He is just a 9-year-old child. Take it slowly. Suanya, you have to train with Master Xingming for 7 years. Until you can perfectly master the talent of the Demon Eater. This is my request. Kiritani Sento made such a request just to let Suanya meet the friends of their class in the future. The 3 little ones are still waiting for him. Before that, everything will be left to them. Bai Minjiahu Xingming said solemnly, Young man, are you willing to sacrifice your life to kill all the evil ghosts? And my training is very hard. Hearing Bai Minjiahu Xingming's words, Suanya was overjoyed, which meant that the other party was willing to teach him. Kiritani Sento quickly winked, and Fushigawara Jinya immediately knelt down, Thank you, master. This is your talent, I just want you to master it better, thank yourself, Amitabha. Chapter 47. As the soft sunlight pierced through the clouds, the demon's body was instantly covered with cracks. Just as Fushigawara Jinya saw, the demon turned into dust. A gust of wind blew, gently brushing Fushigawara Jinya's cheek, and his head buzzed and went blank. You murderer! Murderer! The words he scolded his brother lingered in his ears, and he regretted it. He completely wronged his elder brother, because his mother turned into a demon and his elder brother was unable to kill it. Ah! Fushigawara Jinya burst into tears, and self-blame filled his heart. The brother who tried his best to protect his younger brother only got a sentence, You are a murderer, which was like a big hole in his brother's heart. Fuzugawa Jinya knelt on the ground and cried until the demonization state was lifted, and he fainted. Kiritani Sento didn't know what to say. After all, the person who tied the bell should be the one who untied it. It's okay to cry and vent it out. Baimanjihu Xingmei didn't know what happened at all. Why did the child cry like this? Baimanjihu Xingmei clasped his hands together and sighed, I guess his family has experienced an accident. Poor child, Amitabha. Then he picked up Fushigawara Swanya with one hand. After hesitating for a long time, he put his apprentice on Kiritani Sento's back. Baimanjihu Xingmei walked in front dejectedly. After all, he couldn't reconcile with himself 2 years ago, and couldn't reconcile with his child. Kiritani Sento carried Swanya to the butterfly house. Although his healing skills were very strong, it would be better to let a professional doctor check it out. Kiritani Sento sat outside Swanya's ward with a frown on his face. He still couldn't let go of the matter of Fushigawara's family. If he had arrived earlier. Hey! Rabbit, what's wrong with you? Why do you look so sad? A silver bell-like voice sounded, and Kiritani Zanto immediately laughed happily. Turning around, Shinobu Koko was staring at him intently. The girl's smile was as beautiful as a flower, like a good medicine that could cure the injustice in the world. Only when facing this girl, Kiritani Zanto would not hide his thoughts, after all, she could always see it. Kiritani Zanto explained what happened recently to Shinobu Koko. Shinobu Koko was like a quiet little squirrel except for occasionally interjecting. If only I had arrived one step earlier. Hey! Shinobu Koko did not speak, but hugged Kiritani Zanto. Her slender arms hugged Kiritani Zanto tightly, and whispered, You have done well, don't force yourself. For a boy, a gentle comfort from a loved one is better than 1,000 words. Maybe the luckiest thing in my life is meeting you. Shinobu Koko was stunned for a moment, then retorted, No, then I should be luckier than you. Sentud Kiritani smiled bitterly and said, There's no need to compare this. Shinobu Koko said coquettishly, No, no, compare. Sentud Kiritani smiled suddenly, happy, so happy. But the next second, the smile on Sentud Kiritani's face froze. Because Tomioka Jiu and Kiritani Kaoru walked side by side in front of him, the dead volcano in Sentud Kiritani's heart burst and erupted. Oh my god! The cabbage I carefully cared for is going to be pushed by the pig. Woo woo woo! Sentud Kiritani bit the corner of her clothes and almost cried. Shinobu Koko turned her head with a confused look on her face, but she smiled knowingly when she saw the scene in front of her, everything was so clear. So Shinobu Koko added calmly, Mr. Jiu received treatment 10 days ago, and Kaoru will walk with him every day for rehabilitation. Kiritani Sento was petrified on the spot after hearing this, and then his whole body broke apart. Snowflakes are fluttering, and the north wind is howling. A familiar background music sounded deep in Kiritani Sento's heart. Today is another day when I want to stab Jiu, my cabbage. Then Kiritani Sento followed the two of them like a thief. If the police were there, he would definitely be tortured as a peeping Tom. Of course, it was not only Kiritani Sento who was heartbroken. Many swordsmen who were still receiving treatment looked at Tomioka Jiu with knife-like eyes. What's wrong with that paralyzed face? Why doesn't the angel walk with me? Woo woo woo! Our angel! Kaoru has long been an angel in the hearts of many swordsmen because of her cute appearance, magical healing skills and smile that heals the soul. Outside the training ground of the butterfly house, Kiritani Sento was squatting in the bushes nearby. Whenever Jiu did something excessive, he would immediately rush over and beat him up. But Kiritani Sento didn't notice what he saw was that there was a row of people standing behind him. From left to right, there was Rock Pillar who came to see his apprentice, Flower Pillar, and Haruko who came out for some fresh air, and Satoshi who came to see his junior brother, and Shinobu Koko who looked helpless. Does Rabbit have any special fetish? Satoshi suddenly felt unwell. I don't know what to say about Rabbit's behavior, Amitabha. Suzuki Haruko held her chin and thought, and said seriously, I recently learned a new word, called sister control. I think Rabbit is seriously sick. Then he is very similar to Shinobu. Shinobu is a sister control. Kane complained, they are a pair. I agree. Suzuki Haruko raised both hands in agreement. Shinobu Koko rolled her eyes at her sister and said angrily, Sister, you are talking nonsense, I will ignore you. Humph. Fuzugawa Jinya, who had just woken up, closed the door as soon as he opened it. What was going on? Why were there so many strangers? What is Big Brother Xanta doing? Master is here to see me. Fuswigawajinya said he didn't understand but was shocked. Taromaru crossed the crowd and came to Xanta Kiritani with a piece of paper in his mouth, his small black gemstone eyes blinking constantly. This scene really shocked a bird's heart. The human world is so complicated. Taromaru put the task on Xanta Kiritani's head, and then shouted at the top of his voice, Master, Master, there is a task. Taromaru's shout broke the originally quiet atmosphere, and Tomioka-jiu and Kiritani Kaoru turned their heads quickly. Ah! The weather is so good today. Suzuki Haruko decisively pretended to be stupid. Xiao Shinobu, aren't we going to study potions? Kane smiled and walked towards Koko Shinobu. I'm looking for an apprentice, Amitabha. Xanta simply followed the rock pillar for a walk, and everyone immediately left the front line of eating melons. Kiritani Sento said in bewilderment, What? Brother, brother. Kiritani Kaoru said word by word, and then walked towards Kiritani Sento with murderous intent. Kiritani Sento was frightened and stepped back repeatedly, and hurriedly explained, Well, the weather is good today. Chapter 48. Sento Kiritani said to Jiu unfriendly, Jiu, we have time to spar. Jiu Tomioka nodded. It had been a long time since he had sparred with Rabbit in swordsmanship, and he didn't hear the hidden meaning in Sento Kiritani's words at all. Jiu Tomioka, who never greeted people, waved goodbye to Kaoru Kiritani for the first time. On the way home, Kiritani Sento suddenly asked, Kaoru, do you like that little-faced dead guy? Kiritani Sento's face instantly turned red, and she shook her head frantically, I just think Mr. Jiu was too lonely. Kiritani Sento said in a pitiful tone, Oh. Your brother is so lonely. Brother, don't joke. I don't want to pay attention to you. Humph. Kiritani Sento instantly controlled his brother with just 3 simple sentences, and Kiritani Sento immediately smiled and said, It's just a joke. I'll take you home, otherwise what if you meet a bad guy? After saying that, Kiritani Sento also looked meaningfully in the direction of the butterfly house. After looking at the master's wife and Senjuro, Kiritani Sento opened the letter sent by Taromaru. The letter read, 15 swordsmen have disappeared around Sensoji Temple in Tokyo. It is suspected that the 12 moons have appeared. Please ask the pupil to investigate. At the same time, we have arranged for the butterfly house staff to go with you. A big question mark flashed across Kiritani Sento's head. Butterfly house staff? Just as Kiritani Sento hesitated, someone patted his left shoulder. He immediately turned his head, but there was no one behind him. Rabbit, I'm here, hee hee hee. Kohiko Shinobu suddenly appeared from the right, smiling with curved eyebrows. She was very happy when she just received the mission. It was the first time to carry out a mission with Rabbit. Kiritani Sento was very surprised and couldn't stop smiling. This time he could protect Shinobu well. He was always worried when Shinobu went out to carry out missions before. What a coincidence! Yes, it is indeed a coincidence. After a brief greeting, Kiritani Sento squatted down and said softly, Do you want me to carry you? Shinobu Koko decisively refused. Perhaps it was her competitive spirit or she didn't want to waste the rabbit's physical strength. She was not a vase. Since the organization gave her a task, she had to seriously assist the pillar-level swordsman. I'm very fast, so it's not necessary at all. I will do my best to assist you. Kiritani Sento realized that she was wrong. Shinobu definitely didn't want to be the one being protected. Sorry, Shinobu. If someone else wanted to take care of her, she might be very angry, but she wouldn't be angry with the rabbit. This is favoritism. I appreciate your kindness, my pupil pillar boss. Kiritani Sento was still a little uncomfortable when someone suddenly called her boss. After playing around, the two set off immediately. Although Shinobu Koko's strength is small, her speed is not inferior to that of Sento Kiritani. She has already reached the level of the pillar level. After 10 days of trekking, the two finally arrived at the mission location, Sensoji Temple in Tokyo. Asakusa is a busy street centered on Sensoji Temple. It used to be based on the Yoshiwara brothel. Later, the Sarawaka Street of the Edo Three Towers was moved here, and it became the first busy street in Edo and was called a place of joy by people. Especially now that the summer festival is just around the corner, the flow of people in Asakusa has reached a peak, and people come here every day. However, the more people there are, the more evil spirits like to go there. After thousands of years of development, many evil spirits have already integrated into human life. Sento Kiritani held Shinobu Koko's little hand tightly, otherwise the crowds rushing like waves would immediately drown the two of them. Shinobu Koko lowered her head, her face flushed, probably because it was the first time a boy held her hand in public, especially a boy she liked. Dorayaki, ramen, octopus balls, oden, the lively atmosphere and the fragrant food all stimulate people's brains. Foodie Kiritani Sento's eyes were rarely on the food, because in addition to the prosperity and noise, he noticed that there were missing person notices posted in many places. And all the missing person notices have one thing in common: the missing are children. Koko Shinobu leaned close to Kiritani Sento's ear and whispered, "It seems that the missing children and swordsmen are related to ghosts." Kiritani Sento nodded and pulled Koko Shinobu away from the noisy food street. "If you want to know more specific information, just go to the police station." Kiritani Sento and Koko Shinobu pretended to be a couple who lost their children. Although they were not very old, Kiritani Sento's height was already the same as some adults. The police in charge of reception took a look at Kiritani Sento and Koko Shinobu, especially Kiritani Sento. His anxious look is exactly the same as those who come to report the case. "Has your child been to Asakusa Amusement Park?" Shinobu Koko suddenly buried her head in Kiritani Sento's arms. At this moment, she was so embarrassed. Although it was for the mission, the child was hers and the rabbit's child? The corner of the police's mouth twitched slightly. "Why don't you comfort your wife first?" Kiritani Sento pretended to wipe his tears and asked in a crying voice, "Comrade police, finding my girl is the best comfort for my wife. We did take her there." As soon as Kiritani Sento finished speaking, the police sympathized with him. He patted Kiritani Sento on the shoulder and comforted him. "Hey! This is the 25th report received. All the children have been to Asakusa Amusement Park. It has been more than half a month since the first child was lost. Wait, well. Please believe us." Kiritani Sento sighed, looking like he was in great pain. After getting enough useful information, Kiritani Sento hugged Koko Shinobu and left the police station. They could basically lock on to their target, which was the Asakusa Amusement Park. After all, the place where the 15 swordsmen disappeared last was also the amusement park. What a pity, the place that originally carried the innocent expectations of the children has become a shadow of childhood. However, there are many people and eyes during the day, and even if the amusement park is blocked, it is not convenient for them to enter. What if they are regarded as stealing children again? So Kiritani Sento made a decision that violated his ancestors and directly ate and drank at public expense. He was here. "Shinobu, why is your face so red?" Kiritani Sento asked worriedly. He was afraid that he had hurt Shinobu just now. Koko Shinobu was startled and waved her hands quickly. "I absolutely did not name the child." "Ah! How did she say it?" Koko Shinobu's little face was as red as a ripe dragon fruit. "What?" Kiritani Sento was very surprised. The extremely shy Koko Shinobu immediately rushed into the crowd, and Kiritani Sento chased after her. However, Kiritani Sento glanced to the right rear. Chapter 49. Now he couldn't make a move. After all, sometimes, human nature is as sinister as ghosts, but ghosts eat people, and people are greedy. Since the other party likes to monitor, it proves that the two are here to have fun. Kiritani Sento shouted to Koko Shinobu loudly, "Shinobu, wait for me, I'll take you to eat delicious food." A greasy uncle with a big belly leaned against the wall of the alley. This was the 16th swordsman he monitored. Just by looking at the dress, he could recognize that he was the kind of person the adults told him to be. Kiritani Sento suddenly pulled Koko Shinobu into his arms. He lowered his head and put his mouth next to the other's ear. The heat made Koko Shinobu tremble all over. "Shinobu, someone is watching us, let's have some fun and let him down." Shinobu Koko's head was steaming, and she stammered, I know. Kiritani Battle Rabbit jumped up happily. Now he had a good reason to thank Lao Lu for the gift. Kiritani Sento directly pulled Koko Shinobu to a dorayaki stall. "Boss, give me some red bean ones, some of this, and that, and cream ones, bring them to me." The dorayaki boss was also enthusiastic. "After all, there are many young couples recently. Young man, your girlfriend is very beautiful." Kiritani Sento said without any modesty, "Of course, he. Koko Shinobu's voice was as thin as a mosquito, and she didn't dare to look up. I'm not yet. The boss laughed heartily, ha ha ha, your girlfriend is so cute, 20% off. Kiritani Sento touched Koko Shinobu's head and sighed, cuteness is justice, Shinobu is the cutest. Kiritani Sento stuffed the dorayaki into Koko Shinobu's arms and disappeared in front of her in the blink of an eye. Koko Shinobu stood there blankly, looking a little embarrassed. What happened to the rabbit? Why did she suddenly run away? About 10 minutes later, Kiritani Sento came out of the crowd with a small box in his hand. He was sweating like he had just killed a ghost. His clothes were messy, and he looked like he had just fought with an old man for discounted eggs. Kiritani Sento didn't care about his messy clothes, and came to Shinobu Koko with a bag. He proudly boasted, Shinobu, Shinobu, guess what I bought? Shinobu Koko. Kiritani Sento said mysteriously, this is pickled vegetables made with ginger. How about it, it's amazing. If the nose can be longer, Kiritani Sento's nose can pierce half the sky, and a sense of pride arises spontaneously. Puff. Shinobu Koko covered her mouth and laughed, because Kiritani Sento looked really funny now, but her eyes were already red. Pickled vegetables made with ginger, a very common bibimbap, she didn't even mention it to Kiritani Sento, but this is her favorite food, nothing else. Ah! Come on, praise me. Hee hee. Kiritani Sento put his hands on his hips, shaking the bag of ginger pickles from side to side. Shinobu Koko walked to Kiritani Sento, tiptoed gently, and kissed him on the cheek. Rabbit is the best, I'll give you a reward. Shinobu Koko held the pickles, and Kiritani Sento ate dorayaki in big mouthfuls, feeding Shinobu Koko one from time to time, and Shinobu Koko would also feed him a bite of pickles. Kiritani Sento, who likes sweets, doesn't think ginger pickles are delicious at all, but what Shinobu feeds is different. Kiritani Sento shouted like his big brother. After all, they have lived together for a long time, and in some places, Rabbit has become the big brother. The Purgatory family not only has strong genes, but also has the ability to infect others. Soon, time came to night. Red and white lanterns are like stars in the sky, embellishing the night of the summer festival. From afar, red and white flowed like a stream through the food street under the night sky. Rabbit, stop! Shinobu Koko suddenly called out to Sento Kiritani. Sento Kiritani turned around and asked, what's wrong? Shinobu Koko gently wiped the cream from the corner of Sento Kiritani's mouth with her fingers, and then ate it in front of him. Then he explained, there is cream. Shinobu Koko tilted her head, staring at Sento Kiritani with her big watery eyes, and in an instant, Sento Kiritani's face turned red. The most gentle thing was the gentleness of that tilted head, just like a water lotus with shyness and gentleness that could not withstand the cool breeze. Rabbit, you blushed. Shinobu Koko pretended to taunt. Sento Kiritani immediately turned around and said with a face-saving face, no, absolutely not. Ha ha ha, there is no playing, food. The number of pedestrians on the street gradually sparse, because of the incident at Asakusa Amusement Park, the summer festival is only allowed to last until midnight. Kiritani Sento and Koko Shinobu came to the last stop, which was a purple tent with patterns of stars and moons all over the tent. The sign at the door read, Crystal Ball Divination, absolutely accurate. Fortune, love, friendship, ancestral craftsmanship. Koko Shinobu's smart big eyes blinked, and she stared at the tent closely. This was something completely new that she had never seen before. Kiritani Sento gently patted Koko Shinobu's head and asked, do you want to take a test? Hey! Me? Of course, your soul will fly in. Come with me. Kiritani Sento shook his head. This thing works if you are sincere, but as a modern person, he doesn't believe in this bullshit at all. What divination, constellations, are all Barnum effects, to put it bluntly, it's just a psychological effect. The so-called Barnum effect is nothing more than a psychological phenomenon. People will give highly accurate evaluations of some personality descriptions that they think are tailor-made for themselves. These descriptions are often very vague and universal, so that they can be universally applicable to many people. Go ahead, I'll wait for you. Kiritani Sento waved his hand. Yet. Shinobu Koko walked into the tent with a smile. She had already thought about what to ask, and she was nervous just thinking about it. After a while, Shinobu Koko came out, her joy was beyond words. It seemed that the so-called wizard was quite good at fooling people. But this is much better than some barber shops, at least you don't have to come out crying. Shinobu Koko looked at Sento Koko expectantly and asked, guess what I asked? Sento Koko said with a smirk, is it a marriage partner or a child, he he he. Shinobu Koko immediately became alert. The rabbit wouldn't eavesdrop. If she could transform, Shinobu Koko would look like a cat whose dried fish was stolen. Her furry triangular ears moved, and her little claws tightly grasped the corner of Kiritani Sento's clothes. In short, she was very cute, and Kiritani Sento felt like she could laugh until tomorrow. Chapter 50. Shinobu Koko turned her head suspiciously, blinking her eyes. This guy must have eavesdropped and repeated everything. Shinobu Koko pinched the tender flesh on Kiritani's waist and said slowly, rabbit, eavesdropping is not a good habit. Kiritani said sincerely, no, of course I can count. Just like the formula I taught you. Kiritani said and counted with his fingers, making it look quite real. Formula. The Tao gave birth to 1, 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3. Before Shinobu Koko finished, Kiritani touched her head and said, I'm lucky to meet you. Kiritani ran towards the Asakusa amusement park after pretending to be handsome. He looked up at the moon, which was surrounded by a faint halo. Far away in the horizon, yet close at hand, it seems to be true. We were indeed like that in the past, but now we belong to the same world, how lucky we are. Shinobu Koko stood there blankly, as if she was still thinking about what Kiritani Battle Rabbit said. Ah! I've been tricked again. What's in Bunny's mind every day? Shinobu Koko followed closely. In a corner not far from the two of them, the uncle was still watching them. It was this damn dog food that almost drowned him. Seeing that the two were about to run away, the uncle immediately chased them, but after turning the last intersection, the target he was following disappeared. The alley was terribly quiet, completely different from the daytime, and you could even hear the thumping heartbeat. Sato looked around carefully, fearing that the two people would suddenly appear, but what was coming would still come. Kiritani Sento suddenly jumped out from the dark corner. He made a grimace and said in a broken voice, ah! I died so miserably, I want your life. The alley was a little dark, and Kiritani Sento was almost scared to death by Sato. Rabbit, pay attention to your image. Chako Shinobu came out from the other side with a bubbling test tube in her hand. Sato swallowed hard. That thing must be poison, right? Image? This girl is even more scary. Kiritani Sento patted Sato's shoulder and said with a smirk, Uncle, confess and be lenient, resist and be strict. Did you see that bottle of poison? 1 bottle, 7 orifices bleeding, die miserably, he he he. Kiritani Sento deliberately stretched out his voice to make it look particularly scary. Sato knelt down to the two of them and burst into tears, please save those children, please. Tomorrow night they will be collectively executed. My name is Sato, and I am the owner of the amusement park. Please. Sato made up his mind that even if he would die, he would help the monster monitor the Demon Slayer Corps to delay some time. But these two people are different from the previous ones. They found themselves, and they didn't even realize it. Kiritani Battle Rabbit immediately supported the uncle. Although he didn't know whether what he said was true, he should not be a bad person. Uncle, tell me more. Sato was terrified and kept muttering, no time. I don't have time. As soon as he finished speaking, a yellow mushroom-like thing grew on his neck. In the blink of an eye, the mushroom grew into a yellow balloon. The balloon was a yellow smiley face, and it looked very warm. It was obviously a hydrogen balloon sold to children in the amusement park, and it had good buoyancy. But the next second, the smiley face on the balloon became weird, with its mouth split to the back and blood in its eyes. What was even stranger was that Sato was foaming at the mouth, and Kiritani Sento raised his knife and cut off the red string connecting the neck and the balloon. If it were an ordinary person, they would not be able to see the string at all. In the eyes of ordinary people, the balloon was floating alone beside the man. Kiritani Sento immediately performed a healing spell. The good news was that the uncle's life was saved, and the bad news was that he fainted. Shinobu, the news is broken. But what is certain is that there is definitely a hostage in the hands of the ghost, and it is a child who has recently disappeared. Well, let's go in and take a look. After the two settled the uncle in a safe place, they came to the wall of the amusement park. In a few seconds, they climbed over the wall. After all, a height of more than 3 meters is nothing for a swordsman. Kiritani Sento took the lead and jumped down directly. What came into view was a pile of large dolls lying on the ground. Kiritani Sento took a quick look and saw about 15 dolls, which were amusement dolls. Very common things in the park, big dolls like lions and penguins, are very attractive to children. After confirming that there was no problem around, Kiritani Zanto opened his arms and shouted to the top, "Shinobu, there is no problem below for the time being. Come down." Kiko Shinobu responded, "The tree is too high, and I can't see the situation inside." After exchanging information, Koko Shinobu jumped down without hesitation. That's how trusting. Koko Shinobu landed steadily in Kiritani Zanta's arms. She curiously poked her head out. She had only heard of the amusement park before, but had never been there. "I didn't expect that the first time I came to the amusement park with Rabbit was to climb over the wall." Kiritani Zanta found that Koko Shinobu's performance was a little wrong. She pointed behind Kiritani Zanta with a sullen face and asked weakly, "Rabbit, why are there so many standing animals in the amusement park?" Kiritani Zanta thought it was a big problem, and immediately prepared to turn around and pretend. After all, we are modern people and have seen everything. But the moment he turned his head, Kiritani's face turned purple. The big lion was facing him, staring at him with a pair of scarlet eyes, and the familiar smiley balloon floated next to the big lion doll. "Oh my god! Wasn't it lying down just now? How come you stood up so quickly?" Kiritani was really scared. It was a ghost movie plot that just liked to scare you. Then, an even more outrageous scene happened. The big lion suddenly pulled out a knife from behind. Then came the penguin, the elephant, the tiger. Now there is a group of small animals trying to kill me. Kiritani felt that if he told others, he would definitely be locked up in a mental hospital. 15 knives fell at the same time, but Kiritani still stood there unharmed. His eyesight was not ordinary. Kiritani kicked the lion in front of him away and ran madly into the playground. The animal dolls chased him relentlessly. "Rabbit, put me down and deal with those dolls first. Maybe it's blood demon art." Kiritani Sento finally realized that Shinobu was still on his back.